Good morning. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this May 19th, 2026 working session of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Shelby Rockawick, our office coordinator, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Shelby?
There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's working session, whether you are joining us in person or virtually. If you are here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you are joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you are joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. If you would like closed captioning during this meeting, you will have to manually change your settings. Click on the Captions button and select Show Captions. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org over the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door, and it's also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Shelby. I now call this May 19th, 2026 working session to order and ask Shelby to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Present.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Present.
Commissioner Jeff Smers.
Present.
The following directors are in attendance. Managing Director Matt Washtenaw, Director of Operations Adam Leap, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Brent Schlack.
And not Director of
No,
Finance.
Dan Ackerman.
Oh, thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Support.
Additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, Shelby, if you would, please.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smers.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, the agenda is approved as presented. Next on our agenda is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board, and Shelby will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you're attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Our communications manager will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we will start with those of you who have signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you are still welcome to make comment. Our communications manager will notify you when it's your turn.
Are there any hands raised at this time?
No, Madam Chair.
And there is no one present in the audience for public comment. So at this point in the meeting, I will turn the meeting over to the Managing Director, Mr. Matt Washtenaw.
Thank you, Chair. This morning we have a presentation for our 2026 construction season. I invite our presenters up for kicking this talk off.
All right, thanks, Matt. Brent Schlack, Director of Engineering. We're excited to have this presentation. It's kind of a big part of the year for, I know, the engineering department. And so we have a lot going on. We have a short window of time that we can perform our construction activities. And so we try to jam pack as much as we can in there that our funding allows. So today's agenda, so we'll go through some introductions. We'll go through some work zone safety. This is something that we present at every one of our virtual public meetings. And then we'll have an overview of our 2026 construction season. And then we'll have some reminders that Tiffany will go through on scheduling and our communications on where we can find things on our website. And then, of course, question and answers. So the team we have today is myself, Brent Schlack, Adam Leap, our Director of Operations, and Aaron Burkholz, our Assistant Director of Operations, our Assistant Director of Engineering. I'm trying to give him another job. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So work zone safety, I'm going to invite Aaron up. He can kind of go through our work zone safety. Just to be fully transparent, as we went through this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and this morning, and of course, things get caught up with you, and I completely forget on what we're supposed to talk through. And I went and touched base with Aaron this morning. I'm like, do you remember what slides we were supposed to talk about? So we kind of worked this out this morning, and Aaron's like, just look at me and invite me up. So I'm going to do that.
We
right
were on
now.
the same page this morning.
we were.
When you said, do you remember which slides you were gonna do? And I said, no, I don't. And so, yeah, Brent and I are right in sync. Neither
Yep.
one of us remember which slides.
So
to
much
find out.
stability, yeah.
Yes. Aaron Burkholz, Assistant Director of Engineering at the Road Commission. So yeah, we'll go through work zone safety here. So again, it's a very top of mind, a very serious topic based on the work that my colleagues do here at the Road Commission in operations and in engineering. So there are far too many work zone crashes here in Michigan and throughout the country. And you can see the statistics here from 2025. Again, what stands out is those 25 fatalities. And it's easy for those 25 kind of to get lost because people think, oh, well, 25 isn't that many if you think about all the vehicles on the road, and 25 it's not that many. It's not that many unless that's your dad, or that's your husband, or that's your wife, or that's your child. Then that 25 is ultimately important. And so again, it's very important that our focus be taking those steps needed to try to promote the safety of the individuals that are in that work zone and the motorists themselves. Because we were just having a discussion this morning as Brent and I and Michelle were presenting on the engineering department. We talked about how drivers become creatures of habit. And so drivers drive the same roads generally every day as we all go to work, to and from work. We are driving the same routes. And when you change something along that route, like a work zone, drivers they have a hard time adjusting to that. And that's why, again, there are so many signs that are put out and there are so many barriers put out as you're trying to convey to those drivers, something has changed here. You have to pay extra attention. So again, we talk about moving over and slowing down. And this is important for not just work zones, for like emergency responders that are out there. Here in Michigan, we have a law that if there is a police officer, for instance, that has a vehicle pulled over, you are expected as a driver to either move over if you can do so safely, or at a minimum to slow down as you go past that vehicle and that law enforcement officer. And it's really what I've seen, unfortunately, in my many years working in construction, in roadway and transportation, is the distractions have only increased in the vehicles. And, initially, it would be people doing things like, believe it or not, seeing people drive through a work zone, reading the newspaper, or people even eating. People really should not be trying to eat and drive at the same time. And because it's a distraction, the distractions only became more severe when we all got smartphones. And then they basically started to put screens in the cars that are smartphones so that you don't have to look at the road ahead of you. You've got a screen right there next to your driver's seat and you can play on that screen. And so again, there's a lot of distractions in the vehicles. I happen to have an opportunity to have a lieutenant from the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Kratzenberg, came and spoke to my scout troop just a couple of weeks ago about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. And he said that within Washtenaw County, the two biggest reasons for fatal crashes are drugs and alcohol, and the next one is distracted drivers. He said that really lends itself to a lot of those fatal and serious injury crashes that we see here in Washtenaw County. The other thing is in a work zone is drivers become very impatient, and drivers that become impatient take chances. And so they're trying to cut in and out of lanes as they're navigating that work zone. And again, as they become impatient and they start to operate their vehicle in an unsafe manner, that only risks their safety and the safety of those that are working there. And I thought it was very it hit close to home. I give credit to the communication staff here for working with operations on just what we see here on the screen, where we've got Brian here, and the reality is we know Brian, like I know Brian, and it would break my heart if something happened to Brian working in a work zone. And that's the point we're trying to get across to the public is this is a real person with a family and with friends, and you need to think about that when you're going through one of our work zones. So,
Commissioner Green, you had a question?
Yes, I did. The previous slide gave us information about Michigan.
yes.
Do we have any similar numbers for Washtenaw County?
I don't think so. Brent, do you remember what the numbers were for
Yeah,
Washington?
I'm not quite sure what the number, we can get that. That's probably a good number to present and as what we're seeing in Washtenaw County. Of course, it's far too many, right? And but yeah, I don't have that on the top of my head or to my tongue on
Okay.
what those are.
I'll also add, certainly when we're preparing for major project work, the next slide, if you can go to the next slide, the emphasis there on the social media posts was our kind of our mobile work zones with our operations crews, but certainly on our major construction projects, we very much take into consideration the impact that project has on the community, but also the safety of the workers performing the work and the speed at which the work can get done if there's an actual full closure. So a lot of times with our major construction projects, like roundabouts or reconstruction work or pulverization, we make the decision to close to through traffic and then detour. And that's a lot to do with prioritizing the work zone safety. So just want to make that point.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and I'll say it is amazing when we talk about the mobile operations that are often basically more in the operations department. That would also relate to like when we have a contractor out putting down new pavement markings. Like
Yes.
really, that's a mobile operation. Generally, a contractor we work with because they're one of the biggest ones in the state, PK Contracting. Again, that's a mobile operation. And so that can be a real challenge where you're trying to convey to vehicles behind that mobile operation. You need to slow down. You need to be patient as that truck is trying to paint that long line, trying to paint that yellow stripe or that white edge line. And then, of course, the other thing we're trying to do is get people to not drive across the paint. That's not so much related to safety. It's just honestly quite irritating to see a vehicle drive through the fresh paint and then track it down the road. So we do the best we can there. There you go, Brent. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I do have this broken down into our districts, and I'll show those in a little bit. But this is our overall construction map for this season, for our 2026 season. This was what was approved at our first quarter budget. So as you can see, and again, I'll go into some detail. So we have mainly the ones with the X's. That's what is being performed under our millage budget. So then we have green, and again, I'll go through this in district. Those are the stormwater grant that we got through Water Resources. So those are the culverts that we're replacing, part of those. So part of this year, we're going to be doing a lot of preservation projects, and a lot of resurfacing through our county. We have some statistics later. We do have some reconstruction. We're going to be pulverizing and reconstructing the road. We do have some bridges that are part of our program this year. Of course, some safety. All of these projects, listed here have safety component within them. And then we also have some other like maintenance type projects that we'll be performing this year as well that Adam will talk about. So like I said, we did break this down by our districts. This is kind of an overall map, but mainly it's trying to focus on that District 1, which is in the center of the screen. So basically, like Aaron said, we're going around to all the districts and we're doing an engineering roadshow, and we're highlighting our construction projects for the year. And every year, I kind of try to highlight one of our areas within engineering. This year it's traffic and safety. Last year we did permits. Next year we'll do design and construction, just to learn a little bit more about their area and what they do. But one thing we highlight in that roadshow is each district that we talk to, what their construction projects are. So this one's District 1. The biggest project within this district is actually just kind of northwest of Dexter. That's our Dexter Chelsea Island Lake roundabout, the Island Lake Dexter Pinckney intersection, and then that portion between those two intersections. That's probably the biggest project within District 1. We do have, just to highlight, a hill cut down at Ann Arbor, Saline, and Ellsworth. That's a safety project, but that will be funded through a haul route agreement with Levy and Stone Co. So we were able to capture some funds through them. And we have the roundabout at Scioto Church and Zeeb, which will close once school gets out from Emerson. So District 1, that's kind of the highlight of the projects there. District 2, probably the big.
Any questions
Yeah.
on District 1?
I'll go back. Yeah.
But I have a question, not particularly the District 1, but what projects do we contract out? And what projects do we do in-house?
So for the most part, almost all of our projects are contracted out unless they're a maintenance type project. We do some within engineering department, our signs and signals will do kind of a maintenance type project that we wouldn't contract out. Adam will go through some of the projects that they're going to do that are in-house. But over 90% of our projects are contracted out.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the force and the workforce that's required for those projects are beyond what our capability is.
We're mostly maintenance then.
Yeah, we're a maintenance organization. So we do a lot of maintenance projects. The ability of our crews they can accomplish a lot. We do some culverts, and again, Adam will kind of touch on some of those. Where our crews do an excellent job of building and installing those culverts. And then, of course, our chip seal, which is a big part of our project list for this year. Our crews perform that as well.
Thank you.
Anything as it relates to if you're doing any paving work, we don't have those capabilities. So that's contracted out.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're not going to ask about the mower, Max?
Any other questions on District 1?
Sorry for the interruption.
No, you're fine.
Just to
I'm just
review.
like speeding along.
To review, District 1 includes Webster Township, Scioto, and Lodi.
Yep. This is District 2, which is Pittsfield and Ipsy townships. So some of the, we have some chip seal that we're going to be forming along Platte Road. We do have a mill and overlay project along Holmes is a millage project. That's a carryover actually from last year. We did a lot of curbing work last year on Holmes Road, and we'll be repaving that this year. Probably the biggest project in this is Whitaker and Martz. Actually, we're moving along, and you'll hear in my report later today that we've got a lot of the curbing installed, and actually we'll be paving that I believe today. We're starting that paving. So
That's a roundabout.
and that's a roundabout. Yes, thanks, Matt. And then we also have our State Road project that's widening between Old Campus Parkway and Old State, and it's a mill and resurface from Old 12. District 3. So we got quite a bit of work out in District 3. And so this is a lot of, we have a safety project. Actually, that one's been completed where we're putting centerline rumbles on, North Territorial, milling and overlay Hankard. Again, you should have seen the media advisory for that they're starting work out there. We have some chip seal, of course, our Workner Road project, which is reconstruction of Workner Road. And then a federal aid project along Old 12, which will be mill and resurfacing Old 12 from 94 to the county line. Then another safety project along Jackson Road, which again, that one's completed. That's centerline rumbles along Jackson. District 4. This one we have a stormwater grant. We're going to be milling, resurfacing Grass Lake Road. Gosh, how can I forget that? That's a millage project. So Adam and his crew's been out there to do some prep work for that and get prepared for that project this summer. Felix Weber is our project manager that kind of oversees a lot, actually most of our mill and resurfacing. He's the one that prepares the bid for our hot mix asphalt or HMA bid for our countywide program, and so he manages that for us. District 5, this biggest project in here is probably Macon Road. So that's another pulverization and repave for that, like a reconstruct. Then we have a couple stormwater grant culverts that we're replacing. District 6, this one which includes Salem, Northfield, Ann Arbor, and Superior. So we have probably one of our biggest project, but it's probably the shortest, is Dixboro Road. So Dixboro from the bridge over Huron River to Getty's, that's mill and resurface, but it's a lot of lanes and that pavement needs a lot of help. And so it's probably one of our larger budgeted projects, even though it's probably one of the shortest projects that we have.
Commissioner Yamas, did you have a question?
I just, you mentioned on, which I find interesting, and I think maybe in other projects on district, what? Was it District 4? That's the stormwater grant? Like, how are these covered?
The stormwater, yeah. So actually the county board had allocated some funds to the Water Resource Commission, and the townships actually applied for funds to replace local road culverts. So they would allocate a certain percentage of the cost for the replacement of those culverts that we help them out with. And so then those townships were awarded those funds, and a lot of them are being performed by our own crews.
Right, so
Also-
I understand that. I guess my question was, how's this one being funded? I mean, you noticed that, so you're only gonna tell us if they're been funded by a grant? Like, how's this one funded?
So on the map, I'm just kind of browsing over. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on some of the projects.
Okay,
But for the most part, this year, we have a lot of millage projects that we're performing.
okay,
We have the stormwater grant. We do have like the Dexter Pinckney Island Lake is a congestion mitigation air quality grant that we received. And then Old 12 is a federal aid rural dollars that we were were allocated as we look to through our asset management plans, active asset management practice, to allocate those funds to that road.
But for this particular project, the Sharon Valley Road culvert, the township received the grant, and then the board approved a agreement with the township for the culvert, and then it's also listed under Appendix J in our budget.
Exactly.
All these projects which you see are listed in the budget.
And where the money comes from
Yep.
to pay for the
Yep, and
projects
it's
is all in the budget.
different columns, you'll
Okay.
see the federal and state, and then you'll see the other
Yep.
column. The other is the stormwater grant or township agreements, and then our portion is on the right hand of the column. So
okay,
all those are in the appendices, either if it's on a primary road, it's in the primary charts. If it's on a local road, it's in the local road charts. But Sharon Valley Road culvert is a local road, and that'll be under bridges and culverts.
Yeah, and that's actually the bridge
Okay.
replacement.
Sorry, that's. the
Yeah,
bridge.
which is, yep. I might have missed
Hard to
it
see on there.
earlier, I
Yep,
know.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll go into some detail on those bridge projects as
Okay.
well. Yep.
great, thank you.
So that's District 5.
I think that was our last meeting, right, where we had the first quarter budget update and we got
Yep.
all those appendices again.
Correct.
It's broken out.
Yeah,
And this map that Brent's reviewing is actually in the budget document as well.
Yeah.
We just thought it would be good to go through, district by district, that geographically, that way you can kind of get a sense.
Oh,
of-
this is very helpful.
yeah, and I will just make notes, because I like to try to
Sure.
keep up with.
Sure.
them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and if I'm going too fast, please slow me down. Like I said, we'll be going on our 4th road show. And so we're getting very versed in the map and talking to our districts about all of our projects.
And I think the stormwater grant was ARPA money, right?
That's how it began. Yes, that's how it was originated. And then it became part of their general budget, or I don't know how they allocated those funds, but it ultimately.
It was a Christmas tree resolution.
Yeah.
Passed by the Board of
But it's a
Commissioners.
great program, and we're so thankful for the county board and for Water Resources to have that grant. We're doing a lot of culvert work, and if you do look at that appendix within our budget, there are a lot of culvert replacements within that, and we wouldn't have been doing those without that grant. And they're on local roads, which is very helpful for those local townships. Because we would be looking, or a lot of those, we'd be looking to the township to assist us with those.
Commissioner Green had a question.
you.
Brent.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, there's no contribution from the county toward any millage projects. It's totally funded by millage, right?
That's correct.
A to Z.
Yeah, it's other than our MTF. So we do match a lot of the millage dollars with our Michigan transportation funds
You do?
to
Okay.
make up the difference if we see, if that, depending on the scope of that project and how much we allocated. So we use general numbers whenever we're preparing that millage plan. For instance, like a mill and overlay, we're looking at a $250,000 per mile of a 2-lane paved road as a general guideline for those costs. And so when we're planning the project, we're looking at the miles of that road, and we're applying that general rule of thumb cost. Well, those costs, of course, inflation and cost of materials all grow, and so we have to make up that difference, and we use Michigan Transportation funds for that.
Okay, thank you.
But no, we do not ask the townships for any additional funds for our millage projects.
Also, just
Go back.
wanted to make mention of the Pontiac Trail
Yeah,
and
Pin-
Dixboro.
Correct.
Roundabout, that's a big project, certainly that's
Yep,
upcoming, and we just hosted a virtual public meeting.
yep. Yeah, so that'll be later this summer. So our resurfacing program, this includes both our pave resurfacing and our limestone. So we're gonna be doing 20 miles of asphalt or HMA, hot mix asphalt, this year. Limestone lift, we got about 1.5 miles. We did have a change. We saw a typo, and I apologize for that. So within our slides that were sent out to you, I think we had 49 miles of chip seal, and we're actually doing 26 miles of chip seal. So we apologize for that. But, and like we just talked about, there's a variety of sources, millage, or any federal aid, that we have. There are some, township, agreements, that will be working with the townships for any type of limestone or local road improvements. Like I said, in millage, and in our Michigan transportation funds.
Just to
for these
point out,
projects.
we're highlighting a lot of construction projects that we're highlighting here are primary roads.
Yes.
This does not include the local road program, other than the culverts. But it does not include all those local road improvements that you're seeing come to the board through agreements. We generally speaking will add that work to the budget in second quarter. And then ultimately, that all is getting put into the budget as the agreements are being approved. So these numbers do not include the local roads, but really reflect the investment being made in the primary system.
So, again, we kind of went into a little bit more detail, but these are some of our resurfacing projects. So we have 8 Mile Road. This is a millage project. We're actually partnering with Livingston County on this project. It's a mill and resurface. It actually was set up as a pulverization. But as we scope the project out, and that's just something to note, again, whenever we prepare the plan, we're looking at the condition of that pavement, what it's rated at, and then trying to make decisions on what type of fix is the right fix. But as we started to look a little bit deeper into 8 Mile Road, we found out that there's a lot of pavement out there. And so we then quickly changed course and said, we feel this should be a mill and overlay instead of a pulverization, which would have been very expensive with how much pavement was out there. And we're thankful that we were able to partner with Livingston County. So they're going to actually do and if you're familiar with our certification maps up in that area, it's very confusing on who has jurisdiction over what portion of 8 Mile. So we reached out to Livingston County, and actually a good story there. Their director of engineering was actually an intern here at Washtenaw County Road Commission,
Who's that?
Garrett Olson. Working with Garrett gave me a call and said, "Hey, we have a project that we want to do on 8 Mile," and I said, "So do we. Let's see if we can partner up." And so then Garrett said, "Hey, how about I just do all of it?" And we said, "That sounds great." So we formed an agreement with Livingston County that actually came in front of the board and got approved. And so Livingston County will take that project and complete and do their jurisdiction as well. So to the public, they don't know where those borders are at. So it's a good partnership with Livingston County. Bush Road, this is consumers funded project where we're going to be pulverizing, resurfacing that. Dixboro Road, that's that millage project that we had talked about. Grass Lake Road is a millage project. Old 12 is a federal aid project. Workner Road is another millage project that we'll be pulverizing. Of course, we have a variety of fixes, right? We're going to be milling the southern section and then do a pulverization north of there. Yes.
Thank you. What is the typical lifespan of a milling resurface?
We're hoping to get 10 years out of a mill and resurface. But of course, we always follow up our mill and resurface with a chip seal. So you'll quickly see whenever we will come out and do like Grass Lake Road, then we'll follow that up within a year or two where we'll do a chip seal. And that's to help protect that pavement and extend that service life. And we may do multiple chip seals over, that 10 to 15 year cycle, just to help maintain that surface. So yeah, that's about the lifespan.
Yeah, and the reality is, it's variable depending on what's underneath that road.
Right.
The structure of the road, the pavement structure, the amount of commercial traffic that's on that road, Mother Nature. If we get a lot of hard freestyle cycles, it could be closer to 5 to 7.
Yep.
If we're all things align and things go well, we're hoping for a 10-year. But that's why we do Payzer. So Payzer is that rating system, which we rate our roads every year. So our primary roads we rate every year, so we can keep track of and see how we're doing. So if the investment that we made is seeing signs of deterioration, we can program that seal coat maybe even sooner, or another seal coat sooner than that 10-year mark. So that's one of it's an iterative process, and we constantly evaluating and making decisions and trying to extend that service life of the roads.
Yeah, and there's two areas that really hurt our roadway system. That's water on the road. So we want to try and do our best to try and get the water off. That's where Adam and his crews will go out and prep the road, and they'll try to remove any shoulder material that have been built up to try and help that drainage. And then our chip seal is, our pavement oxidizes over time. And so you've probably heard Matt or I or even Aaron say that chip seal is kind of like sunscreen. It just really, we put that on our roadways to help protect that roadway and help protect that oxidation and then keep the water out from underneath the road.
Brent,
Yeah.
those explanations are really helpful because we often hear people say, you just fixed that road. Why are you back there again doing a chip seal or a fog seal? So you've answered that question. It
Yeah.
extends the life of the initial treatment.
Yep, yeah, and we have an active community within Washtenaw County, and they are not big fans of our chip seal. But when we're looking at our assets and our asset and managing that, chip seal is a good tool for us.
Provide, keep in mind, asphalt is a flexible pavement and it's got a binder and it needs to be able to flex over that underlying pavement that we're resurfacing over top of. And when Mother Nature has those freeze thaw cycles, you want it to be flexible. You don't want it to be brittle. So the sun oxidizes it, makes it brittle. When it's brittle, what happens? It cracks. Then the water gets in. So that's the vicious cycle that we are
Yes.
are trying to avoid.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Then some more resurfacing projects, that Holmes Road, that millage project, Macon Road's another millage, that's the pulverization. Ropeke Road, that's a small section of Ropeke that we're gonna be, repairing and pulverizing, resurfacing. That's actually, we're gonna utilize the consumer money for that. Whitehall is another millage project, in front of Gabriel Richard, High School. And then Waterloo Road is another mill and resurface down Linden Township.
Is that millage too?
That's a millage funded project as well, yes. And then we do have some roundabouts. Actually, this one, like I said, is getting close to having some pavement down. Of course, that's not the end of that project. We then have to look at signs and pavement markings, and street lights for this project, to complete that project. But we're getting very close towards the end of this project.
Brent,
Yes.
dark skies? Lighting?
Yes, so our lighting is dark sky compliant. We use a 58-watt bulb at all of our roundabouts. And then we actually work with DTE Community Lighting to, they actually do a photometric plan for all of our roundabouts. And so then we look at those and we try to make a determination on if there are any impacts due to our lighting. So a good example would be at Scioto Church and Zeeb. There's a home that's right there in the northeast corner of that roundabout. And so we're very conscious of what our streetlights may do. And so we look at, okay, we're going to use a lower wattage bulb. We're going to look at the positioning of those lights, and then maybe look at some screening or some deflectors that we can put on those to kind of help that resident.
And again,
Commissioner Yamas, did you have a question?
Yes. Are there lights at every roundabout? I've never paid attention, I guess, even at night.
Yes, so we only have two roundabouts that don't have lights. And ironically, those are on the Saline Schools campus, along Campus Parkway and Community, and Campus Parkway and Wapiti, I believe is so those two do not have streetlights. But there's a lot of ambient light with the school district there. And of course, we have our pavement marking and signs that kind of help. It's not required to have streetlights, but for a lot of purposes for the motoring public, we make it a standard.
yeah, street lighting is one that we contract with DT Community Lighting, as Brent mentioned. So we contract with them, issue the permit, and then they're responsible for the maintenance of those lights. We just pay the energy costs and the upfront construction costs. So it works out really well. Lighting is definitely an enhanced safety feature, especially when you have a big change. Because generally speaking, there may not be four-way stop or no stop control at all in some legs. So making a big change like that, it definitely enhances the safety by having street lights. So when we're building them, ultimately we think that's a cost of that construction project. And so we make sure that as part of our roundabout construction, lighting is always a part of it.
Yep.
The permitted ones back in Campus Parkway, those were actually constructed by Saline Schools
yeah.
under permit. So those were one of the first ones
Yeah.
in Washtenaw County. And they've done a great job, and they're very safe They're also on a lower speed roadway.
Yep.
So a lot of factors are considered when looking at street lighting, but that's a big part of what we think makes it a very safe intersection.
And just to highlight, so this roundabout, Martz and Whitaker, our project managers, Becky Hool, and Dean Torella is our inspector that's overseeing this project. And of course, John Sepul is our office tech. He's the one that takes a lot of the information. So as you look at these roundabouts and as we construct those, with this being a federal aid project, so this is carbon reduction funds. So as we look at this, every component that's used to build these, we have to keep track of. We have to be transparent with how these are constructed. So that's what Dean's out there doing. He's out there recording how they're building this, what materials they're using, and what the quantity of those are. And then Becky's overseeing that and managing the contractor. Then John Sepola will take that information from Dean and then review it and then ultimately pay the contractor.
And just a reminder, we generate the pay estimates.
Right,
MDOT
federally.
pays the contractor.
Right.
It's federal aid.
Yes.
Commissioner McCollum?
Yeah, I think this is much needed. Thank you for doing this on Whitaker Road and Martz Road. I like how it's set up because a light would have slowed down traffic. And with the roundabout, as everyone's just gonna be merging and going in their direction.
Yeah.
I go this way a lot.
Oh, good.
And a light would slow it down, and then you have to wait for the traffic going east-west, but this is perfect.
Yeah, it calms the traffic, right? So they have to slow down to navigate. So we have 15 miles an hour as we enter the roundabout. And so it'll do that, but it does keep the vehicles moving. And we have a corridor with, lots of roundabouts. So it made an obvious choice for us as we were looking at an improvement.
This one
there.
in particular, you have a pretty big horizontal curve
Mhm.
Yep.
on Whitaker Road. So by introducing the intersection, it
Yeah.
definitely is going to enhance the safety.
Yes,
And as Brent said, there's a roundabout to the north and south. So
yes,
drivers are very familiar on
right.
how to navigate. And these are just single lane roundabouts, so it's a
Right.
very simple operation.
Yep.
And those areas where we have the roundabouts already, there's not this backup of traffic, whereas here it was.
Yep.
Commissioner Yamas, you have a question?
I do. I want to know what's in the middle of this roundabout, only because the roundabout at Textile and Stony Creek gives me pause every time I go through it because people are running it all the time. They go straight through. They don't even do.
Well, they can't go up through it anymore because we put signs through the middle.
Yeah.
Oh,
There are
great.
signs
Okay.
there now.
Good.
But yes, this one is, I believe the picture is a little deceiving.
It is,
It's
yeah.
all concrete the whole way across, and it's a raised curb, whereas
Okay.
the other ones at Textile and Hitchingham and Stony Creek,
yeah.
wasn't a raised island. This is more of a raised island.
Yeah. So if you look at the picture, so the dark red
Yeah.
is actually raised some, and then the center island where the green is at is actually raised a little bit more. It's a truck apron for the dark red. So
Okay.
that's when we're looking at truck templates and how those truck and trailers can navigate or farm equipment. And so that dark red will,
Yeah, there it is.
there it is. Yep. So you can see them.
Actual drone photo of the progress on a progress update.
Oh, okay,
Thank you, Tiff.
thank you.
Yep, so you can see they're actually placing the concrete there. And this is at Martz and Whitaker. Okay. We can get back to the presentation. Yep, there we go. Great. This is our Dexter Chelsea Island Lake Main Street. This is a partnership with the city of Dexter, where we're actually looking to improve the signals within the city of Dexter. But it also includes a roundabout at Dexter Chelsea and Island Lake, just east of the viaduct, the railroad viaduct. So this is what they're out there now. So the road's closed and they're working to construct this and the next intersection. So this is Dexter Pinckney and Island Lake. So we're adding a right turn auxiliary lane for that northwest movement to northbound on Dexter Pinckney. So that'll be almost a free flow movement. If you're familiar with the intersection of Ann Arbor, Saline, and Wagner, they're northbound on Ann Arbor, Saline. There's a right turn auxiliary lane there for that intersection. It'll operate very similar. Have a green arrow, and that green arrow will stay on until there's a vehicle on Island Lake turning left to go north on Dexter Pinckney, which is very rare. So it'll stay green for that movement most of the time. Then we have Scioto Church and Zeeb. Again, this is the down near Emerson Schools. You can see Emerson Schools in the bottom right corner of this aerial. So this one will be closed. This intersection will be closed once school gets out. And so we'll be installing this. This is actually using federal urban dollars to construct this roundabout. This is the Dixboro Pontiac Trail roundabout. Will be taking place later this summer. So again, it's a single lane roundabout. It'll help. There's a lot of congestion along this corridor along Pontiac Trail going into South Lyon. And this is another step towards solving some of that congestion on that corridor. Now we'll get into bridges, and I'll pass it over to Aaron. And he can kind of talk about bridges and then go into some traffic and safety projects.
Thanks.
Yep.
So it's a bit misleading because several individuals in the department refer to this as the year of the roundabout. I would argue that it's the year of the bridge. So my first job here as a full-time employee back in 1997, when I came in, was as the bridge engineer. And myself, and I think Nate Murphy, our senior project manager of design and construction, once you work on bridges, you're a bridge engineer. It never goes away. I love working on bridges. Nate does as well. It's hard to pass that on to the next person. But as you take on a role as more of a manager, you have to start to delegate that responsibility. And so Nate is going through that process of delegating that to Kevin Dubnicki, one of his project managers. And again, there is a difference between building a road and building a roundabout and building a bridge. Again, I've really loved working on the bridges here in Washtenaw County. This is one of the bridges. We're actually going to work on 3 bridges this year. All bridges that we're going to work on this year, all 3 have received federal aid funding. And again, just a quick recap, a bridge is a structure that has a span of 20 feet or more over the waterway, for instance. So that would be from the face of the foundation. We call that an abutment. So from that foundation wall to the other foundation wall, if that distance is 20 feet or greater, it's a bridge. It's defined by federal highway and by MDOT as a bridge. We currently have 126 bridges here in Washtenaw County that we have responsibility for, that we own. And so again, 3 of the bridges are going to be worked on. This one on Cherry Hill Road is very near the Huron Valley Humane Society, right near the hamlet of Dixboro there, just south of Plymouth Road. So as you can see here, the bridge was built in 1980. There's a consistent issue with bridges of this type, not just here in Washtenaw County, but throughout the state of Michigan. This type of structure is referred to as a side-by-side box beam structure. So when these bridges were constructed, and I'll admit that early in my career, I built several of these bridges here in Washtenaw County because it was a very straightforward and economical way to build a bridge. The beams, the box beams, so they're the shape of a box, would be made in a plant facility, and then they would be shipped out to the job site. You would set the beams one next to the other, and then basically you would put a reinforcing steel bar through the bridge, through the beams, and pull them tight together. And you would basically build the beams and the deck for the bridge. The real failing on a lot of these bridges is they have an open railing system. So you can see in the picture here, what's happened to this bridge and what happens to many of them is as the water leaves the roadway, it runs over the face of that beam, that outside beam. And again, we have to, for winter maintenance and for promoting the safety of the public, we have to salt that bridge. Bridges tend to freeze up during the winter. And as that salt is cascading off of the edge of the bridge and over that beam, it's deteriorating that outside beam. And you can see in the picture on the right here, that's what's happened here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the beams. So this bridge, basically everything from the top of that abutment wall, the top of that foundation up, is going to be removed by the MDOT contractor. Again, this is a federal aid contract, so technically the contract is between CA Hull, the bridge builder, and MDOT, and we administer the program on behalf of MDOT because it involves federal aid. It still is our bridge, even though the contractor working on it is working under an MDOT contract. The bridge is still ours. We own it. They actually have started this project. So Cherry Hill Road is currently closed. They're in the process of removing the railing system, of removing the beams. And basically, once those beams are removed, there's a little bit of work under the bridge. You can kind of see in that right picture there in the corner, there's some slope reinforcement there because you've got that action of that water going underneath the bridge. And as that water moves along the bridge, what it'll create is we call that scour, where it actually will, that continuous action of that water is trying to pull material away. And so to combat that, when they built the bridge in 1980, they put in some slope reinforcement there underneath the bridge. Part of that has now failed. So they're going to repair that. We've got new beams coming out. We're not going to put another side-by-side box beam bridge in here. What's going to go in is called a tub girder bridge. It's a fairly modern method and a fairly economical method of building a bridge. And so those will actually be steel beams. So the tub girders are built out of galvanized steel. Those will be placed, a new deck will be put on, and then new railing. And then by and large, the bridge is going to be opened up. So we expect this project, again, it's going to take about, I'll say 2 to 3 months for us to construct the new bridge at this location. So during that time, the road will be closed.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Green.
So who selects the contractor who does this type of bridge? Is it MDOT?
Yeah, it's competitively bid. So again, a federal aid project, whether it's a bridge or a federal aid road or a federal aid roundabout, those federal aid projects are advertised and bid through the Michigan Department of Transportation, and then they select the contractor. Generally, that's the low bid contractor. By and large, it's whoever bids the lowest, as long as they meet the qualifications of the bid. So there are certain qualifications related to the contractor's bonding capacity, things such as, are they pre-qualified to do the nature of the work? So a contractor, for instance, CA Hull, the MDOT contractor here, is pre-qualified for bridge construction.
Right.
But MDOT, they select the contractor and they enter into the contract.
So my question is, if the contractor builds it in a negligent fashion,
Mhm.
we're liable because it's our bridge,
Yes. Yes, and so that's one of the
even
reasons.
though we didn't select the contractor.
That's right. We did not select the contractor. MDOT did. But again, they do have to be pre-qualified. So they have to have, I'll say, expertise in this type of construction. And that's one of the reasons Brent had talked earlier about us having an inspector on site. And that's one of the reasons you have an inspector on site is both for the documentation that's needed for a federal aid job and to oversee the contractor's work and to point out or even to stop the contractor when they're not building the bridge within the plan and specification. So again, that bid package that's advertised and let by MDOT includes all the specifications, all the plans. The contractor is obligated to follow those plans and specs.
And keep in mind, we are the ones that are hiring the consultant or performing the design ourselves. So we're the ones saying, this is what you build, and we're stamping the plans as a sealed professional engineer. And then also we're inspecting the work to make sure it's done in accordance with those plans and specifications. So we are responsible for oversight of the construction of that project. So as a local agency, that is our responsibility. And that's also in the agreement between MDOT and the road commission, specifically citing that we're responsible to administer the project for that oversight.
All right, okay, thank you.
Too bad you don't enjoy this, Aaron.
Yeah. I do. I love building bridges. It's great.
Clearly.
Another bridge that we're gonna work on this year that Kevin and Nate have been working diligently on is Main Street up in Whitmore Lake. Again, we always have to qualify it because we have more than one Main Street bridge. There's Main Street in Dexter and there's Main Street in Whitmore Lake. This one is just north of the old Whitmore Lake High School. Probably, I always reference that, but that's becoming dated because the new Whitmore Lake High School has been there on Whitmore Lake Road for 10 years at
Yes,
least.
really?
Yeah, or more. Yeah, I'm getting.
Really?
So anyway, yeah, 20. Oh, boy. All right. So I won't reference the old Whitmore Lake High School because no one knows where that is. But again, this is south of, I'll say downtown Whitmore Lake. So this is south of the downtown area. Again, this bridge was built in 1920. So really it's at the end of its service life. This bridge owes no one anything. It's been there for a long time. And one thing with this bridge, it's a concrete cast in place bridge. And like during the time that they would have built this bridge, labor and materials were relatively cheap. And so they would design a bridge and they'd say, well, if that's good, more is better. So let's pour a lot of concrete. And so as they would just pour more and more concrete, they would build a pretty invincible bridge structure. And so this bridge has benefited from that. But again, it was built in 1920. So now it's over 100 years old. So it's time for this bridge to be replaced. This is a full bridge replacement. So the closure of Main Street in Whitmore Lake, that will occur in late June is when that's going to happen. And again, Whitmore Lake, there's a lot of traffic, particularly during the summer. It's a busy area. We've been consistent in communicating to Northfield Township and to like the Whitmore Lake businesses to try to make sure that they're aware of what's going to occur here when we have to close the road to build a new bridge.
I was just gonna say, also to add, the age of the structure. This is another case where we're responsible for inspecting those bridges every 2 years. And if they are in poor condition, it's every year. So ultimately, we make a case and apply for these competitive grants. And all three of the bridges that you're talking about were selected through a competitive process at the Regional Bridge Council that is responsible for awarding bridge funding for our area. So definitely there was a demonstrated need for all three of these.
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you. So if this bridge lasted 100 years,
Yes.
what is the life expectancy of its replacement?
I would say you're looking at 75 to 100 years.
Okay.
That's really when you're designing a bridge, that's your goal. One thing that I'll say as a state, and credit to MDOT and the road agencies here, in my career, we've approached the maintenance of bridges differently. Because early in my career, generally what MDOT did and what the county road agencies did is we said, okay, we're going to allow a bridge to completely deteriorate. And when it gets ready to fail, we'll take money and we'll build a new bridge. You can't manage those assets that way. It's way too expensive because a bridge project, even like this simple bridge, this is a relatively simple bridge. It's going to cost about $1.5 million to $2 million to build a new bridge here. So it's a very expensive investment to build a new bridge. What we've done a better job, I'll say, of over the last 15 years is more focusing on preventative maintenance, that you do things like you build a new bridge and it's got a concrete deck on it. So you go out maybe 10 years later and you seal that deck. so that you try to keep that water from infiltrating into the bridge. You do things like you provide a different type of barrier, a different type of rail, so that you more effectively convey that stormwater runoff. And rather than allowing it to just cascade over the face of the bridge, you direct that water beyond the bridge and run it through a grassed area so that you kind of clean that water up. So again, there's various methods we put in place, and there's been more of a focus on like bridge preventative maintenance in the last 15 years or so.
And even the Cherry Hill Bridge, if you could go back one slide.
Sure.
That is not a new bridge per se. It is, but it ultimately, we're reusing the foundations.
Yep.
So we're reusing the existing abutments. It is a major rehabilitation.
Yes.
Where we're getting new beams and deck, but the abutments are the same as the old bridge. So there's going to be, when you ask the question, what is the life of that bridge? Certain parts of the bridge, especially the abutments, we're hoping will service for that long period of time. For the bridge deck itself, it may be 25 to 50 years, depending on a lot of factors.
Right.
And you can, much like a road, you can resurface the road, you can patch a deck, you can do preventive seal the deck, much like you do with seal coat. So a lot of the same principles we apply to extending the service life of the road, you can do on a bridge.
Thank you.
And that's a good point, Matt. I'm glad you bring up on Cherry Hill that we're reusing that foundation. Those abutments are remaining in place because again, through my work and now working with Nate and Kevin, what I've seen is bridges that were built from like the 80s and later, really they did a good job of constructing those foundations. Matt brings up the MDOT local bridge program, and that's where we were successful in applying for this competitive grant to do the work on those three bridges this year. We just applied earlier this year. One of the bridges that we applied for was just around the corner from Cherry Hill Road. It's on Ford Road. And as Nate and I reviewed that bridge and looked at the plans for that bridge, we agreed that we were further ahead to just do a replacement of the beams and the deck because we looked at the foundation that they constructed for that bridge and it's still very solid. Again, as I've worked on several bridges and we've built those foundations, I've wondered how difficult it would be down the road when I'm gone for someone to try to take that foundation out because you're driving steel piles, you're pouring a significant amount of concrete and locking that foundation in. I do not envy an individual trying to go out there and remove those foundations. They're going to have a heck of a time, which is a good thing. That's the reason we build them as solid as we do.
Great.
And the third bridge that we're going to work on, again, this bridge will start late this year. We're thinking probably October or later, is on Sharon Valley Road in Manchester Township. And the existing bridge has a host of issues. Not only is it structurally deficient, when I say structurally deficient, I mean it doesn't have the ability to carry modern loads. It doesn't have a full carrying capacity as a 20-ton weight restriction because it is structurally deteriorated, but also it's functionally obsolete. The geometry of the existing bridge is very poor. You have a hard curve as you come down a hill approaching from the west going eastbound. You come down a fairly steep unpaved hill and then you get to the bridge and then you have to make a hard left to not run off the road. Again, when they built this bridge back in 1960, they probably just looked for the shortest span. They said, what's the shortest bridge we can build across the River Raisin here? And they said, well, we'll just build the bridge like this. That's the shortest length of bridge. Again, we're going to change the geometry of the road approaching the new bridge and the bridge itself. That geometry will change significantly. But again, we do have, this was bid through the Michigan Department of Transportation. The contractor on this is Toby Construction. Again, they are a well-established bridge builder. And this will be a unique construction because there is underlying artesian water conditions in this area. And we were very thoughtful during the design process as we worked with our design consultant and they worked with a geotechnical consultant that evaluated the soils here and that underlying artesian condition. There was a lot of thought put into that. because back in 2017, 2018, we built a bridge west of here, also on Sharon Valley Road, right near the county line with Jackson. And there we experienced artesian conditions, and it actually was something we had to address during construction. We did learn from that project. We wanted to be very mindful of it on this one. So this one will carry through the winter. So Sharon Valley Road will continue to be closed through the winter into next spring. And so we have a completion date on this project of like next summer. Because again, some of the aspects of building a new bridge here are pretty unique and they consume a fair amount of time. And here's an example of what I just spoke of. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
you
and
could
there's
probably
that.
say, the span has increased as well.
It is. The span of the new bridge will be longer than the
Quite a bit.
old one quite a bit. Yeah, so it's gonna be a longer bridge. It's gonna have a greater span from abutment to abutment. It's going to be a better fit for the river Raisin. So like from an environmental aspect, you've got a bridge that's more designed for the hydraulics of the stream there. And again, we're gonna be improving the road approaches to the east and west of the bridge and providing some safety enhancements there for vehicles that cross this.
Commissioner Yamas?
I remember the presentation that was done on this before we approved it.
Mhm,
It was quite a lot of
mhm.
Yeah.
work that you guys did.
Yes, yeah, quite a bit of work that needs to be done here. Again, it's certainly of great help to have that federal aid funding as part of this. This bridge project is in the realm of $3 million. And to have that commitment to that federal aid funding to pay for the majority of that cost is of great benefit.
And it's also on a local road, which is not very often do we get what we term off-system bridge funding, which is a very fortunate thing.
Yeah. Again, it's a fairly rural road. There's not a lot of traffic on Sharon Valley Road. So it's a very expensive project for a relatively low volume road, admittedly. But if you look at the other crossings out here, they tend to be few and far between. The next one to the south, if you're going to need to cross the River Raisin, would be Main Street in Manchester. And the next one to the north, gosh, it's lost on me because Bethel Church Road is north of here, but that structure is closed. And so if there was no crossing here, it would be a significant distance around to be able to get across the River Raisin.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you. So just a comment, the new design is going to be much safer.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. Yes. This new bridge and the road approaches will promote a higher level of safety for the motorist. Yes.
Thank you.
I can elaborate a little bit on that. Sorry,
Yeah.
Aaron. So as you can see from this picture, so we're going to be improving, we call them a horizontal curve. That's where you are moving horizontally, and there's a vertical curve here. So there's a big hill that comes down to the bridge here. And so we're going to be paving this approach to this bridge all the way up to the top of that hill, which will help with a lot of those vehicles that are trying to navigate that vertical curve.
Yeah, it'll be a paved surface rather than a gravel surface, which will be helping the maintenance as well.
Yep.
That's great.
So is the pink paved?
Yes,
Is that what
Yes,
that means?
that is correct. Yep.
and the yellow is transitioning back to gravel.
Yep. Brent had mentioned earlier, as he was going over that countywide map and talking about the projects coming this season, we've got a significant number of culverts to work on this year. And he mentioned it earlier, credit to Water Resources for administering that stormwater grant program that really provided much needed funding. And we appreciate the partnership with our townships because really the way that stormwater grant program worked was that the township was responsible for applying for the grant through Water Resources. And it wasn't just for local county road culverts. There were other projects that qualified for the stormwater grant, but I'll say a good amount of that money that had been allocated through that grant program was allocated to the replacement of local county road culverts. And so, under board policy, when we replace a culvert that's 5 foot diameter, so again, we talked about span, a lot of culverts are round, they're pipes. So if it's a 5 foot span or greater, then we ask the townships, we need a partner to pay 50% of that cost. More often than not, that's the townships. The townships aren't obligated to put money towards county road improvements. More often than not, they are the agency that contributes to that because it's important to them and their constituents. So again, the stormwater grant program provided that much needed influx of funding to the townships so that we could partner with them then and work on these local county road culverts. Some of them get quite large. There was one we worked on last year with Ann Arbor Township on Warren Road, just west of Dixboro. And that new culvert that's out there, the span of the replacement culvert is over 20 feet. So now that culvert falls into the bridge category. So these culverts can get quite large. I want to give credit to our operations department. I'm really impressed in particular with the heavy equipment crew, with Jason Klaus, the foreman, and Ryan Lewis, his group leader, that they've embraced the opportunity and the challenge to build larger and larger culverts. They see that they have the capability to do that in-house. Ken has worked and Jared have worked closely with them on that to afford them that opportunity. And really where we see benefit is it's cost effective when we have our crews work on those culverts. And so we have culverts throughout the county. My first job here as an intern was actually going out and being part of the culvert inventory team. So we have 2,900, more than 2,900 culverts throughout the county, various sizes, various conditions. Again, any structure that's less than 20 foot in span falls into the culvert category. We do have a culvert inspection program. And so basically that allows us over about a 4-year time frame to make sure that all of the culverts are inspected. And those would be culverts that would be 5 foot diameter or greater. So between a 5 foot diameter culvert and just shy of a 20 foot span structure, we try to inspect those every 4 years. And we're out every year having inspections performed on culverts. In particular, we keep a close eye on those that have weight restrictions, those that have structural issues. We're keeping a very close eye on those.
I'm going to stop you here for a minute.
Yes.
Commissioners, do you need a break? No, we're good? I'm sorry?
Quick one.
Sure, sure. Is that all right?
Yeah,
We'll take a
sounds
quick
good.
break here
Okay.
and then we'll continue with the culverts.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Green had a question or a comment here.
So when I was a trustee for Superior Township, one of the observations that became obvious was that we didn't know where or how many culverts there were in the township. So how have we improved in identifying the location of culverts in Washtenaw County?
Yeah, one of the ways we do that is in our annual report to each township. So that township booklet, if you will, we highlight culverts that are in some type of state of deterioration. So we want to advise the township, particularly of those culverts that are on the local county roads, where we would potentially be asking for their financial partnership, highlight those in the township booklets. And so an example for Superior Township is there's a deteriorated culvert on Joy Road. Right there, that would be the border between Superior and Salem. And that would be indicated in that annual township booklet to draw attention by both Salem and Superior that there's a culvert on a local county road that at some point in the relative near future, I'll say we are going to have to address. Because as a structure, be it a bridge or a culvert, deteriorates, it doesn't get any better. It just continues to get worse. And at a point, you're putting a weight restriction on. And then you're lowering that weight restriction, and at a point, you're closing the culvert, you're closing the structure. So that's the best means we have to communicate it to our townships is through that annual township booklet, and then having that annual conversation with them about when do we try to tackle this project.
Yeah, the township booklets have a lot of valuable information. So much like the pavements, we provide a map. And if you probably recall, you've seen red, yellow, and green lines on that map. Those red, yellow, and green line represents good, fair, and poor pavement conditions. We took that same methodology and we have a township-wide map, and we have dots all over that. And what those dots represent are those culverts. So if they're green dots, green means good, right?
Yep.
Red means bad. So red dots are poor condition culverts or bridges on our township-wide map. So much like the Pazer condition, we have culvert and bridge condition listed in those township booklets. And just as a reminder, we email those out to all the elected board for each of the townships, individual emails. And then we also post that booklet on our township pages posted on our website. Those township booklets are on the website, along with any agreements that we have for that particular township for investment. Those are both on our website for the township.
And I believe Tiffany added a tab at the top of the homepage, right?
I did.
So it's real easy to navigate to find those township booklets, project announcements, project updates, and so forth.
Yep, and we'll get to that later in the presentation.
Oh, okay,
Tiffany
sorry.
will show. No, it's very fair point. So we will exit out of PowerPoint, I'm sure, and Tiffany will.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also note that we do inventory, so we have a really good handle on the culverts that are 5 feet and greater.
Okay.
Less than 5 feet, we have for the most part, we know, but we, utilizing Adam and our district foreman, we always kind of find a culvert that's out there, and then we add that to our inventory. Alan Squire, he helps manage that inventory and what condition of those are, whether we have pictures of them and pictures inside of them, so we can help manage that asset.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that map that we provide the townships, it shows both the culverts that are 5 feet and larger and less than 5 feet. So the map has everything on there. We're not, we will take care of anything less than 5 feet just as general maintenance practice.
And this all became possible when we went to the GIS and brought on
Absolutely.
Alan Squire. I don't remember the years that you were a township
All right.
trustee.
Yeah, we didn't have all this information.
Yeah, but that's fairly new. You were digging through records
Yes.
in the basement or
Right.
try and identify what was
Yeah.
where and
Well,
add it to the so-called
2015,
inventory.
2016
Yeah.
is when there was a lot of like research done to try to get that initial map of where are the culverts at in this county.
And you still discover,
We still occasionally will find a
Culverts.
culvert. And again, credit to the district foreman. They're the ones they and their crews are out on those roads every day, and they will occasionally find a structure and call Adam or Ken or Jared. And then there's a discussion had with engineering about, do we have record of this culvert? And sometimes the answer is no, we don't. Because again, to manage 126 bridges, that's a federal mandate, that's an MDOT mandate. We have to do that. There's no such mandate with the culverts. I'll say as a county, I'll give our road commission a lot of credit. We do a good job of it. Kent County does a good job of it.
Mm.
Some counties don't have the financial means to do this. And so in those cases, you become more of a firefighter where, it looks like we have a culvert failing. Let's go out and put out that fire. That's a really tough way to manage an asset like a culvert inventory.
Alan's made a huge difference.
Yes,
Yes.
he's established also with us, when you go to put in a culvert, you have to request a job number, and you won't get a job number unless you have a culvert ID that is linked to our GIS, right? So those are things and practices we over time have
Mhm.
developed so that because we still put in new culverts, and in order to put in a new asset, you've got to track that asset.
Commissioner Yamas.
Can you give me what is GIS?
Geographic Information System.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that, because our acronym overload, Geographic Information System. So that's GIS.
And it's on many vehicles today, right?
It is. It's on a lot of vehicles and we have devices that we can take out in the field and actually, some of the foremen are familiar with them, some of our engineering technicians, and we can go out and we can electronically using satellites tie down the location of an asset like a culvert and say, okay, this culvert at this location was replaced on such and such a date. And if Allen doesn't already have a number assigned to that culvert, it gets a new number. So that way in the future, again, we're kind of paying it forward to the next board and the next group of operations and engineering staff trying to keep track of these things for them.
And you'll hear the term RoadSoft.
Yeah.
So it's a road software that is our GIS, Geographic Information System, that keeps track of not only our assets, but maintenance records as well. So we've got a lot of different inventories within RoadSoft, our pavements, our bridges, our culverts. We have our guardrail
Signs.
Signs. That's right. So it manages a lot of different things that, as a road commission, we have to keep track of and its condition.
And if you hover over one of those little dots, doesn't it identify the structure and how old it is and when it was last
Right.
attended
Yeah, yeah.
to?
There's
The amount of
different things.
information is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
mind-boggling.
With our stormwater system, we
Mhm.
did countless inventories of catch basins. So it even has pictures
Mhm.
of the structure, when it was last cleaned.
Yep.
Those kind of details are all in there. So, yeah.
Early in my career, that did not exist.
No, you had index
had-
cards in a shoebox, right?
We had paper maps with dots on them that
Right.
I drew on the maps, and you would get a township map. If it had a lot of culverts and bridges, it basically became one dot because there were so many dots on the map.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
So, for this season, again, we've got a significant number of culvert replacements that we'll be working on. Primarily, again, it's that partnership between engineering and operations that bring these about. We do have a couple of culverts that we advertised for contract or bid, looking at the scope of work, the size of the culverts involved, and the timeline as well, the schedule. We can only commit our operations department to a certain volume of work because culverts aren't the only thing that they work on. They also have to attend to things like the chip seal program. They have to attend to things like routine maintenance and going out and scraping unpaved roads and putting down dust control. So there are two culverts this year. They're part of the same advertisement and bid package. Those would be on 6 Mile Road in Northfield Township and Warner Road in York Township. There's actually two culverts on Warner Road. That's why it's listed the way that it is. There's Warner Road in Pittsfield Township and there's Warner Road in York Township. Both are separate agreements with those two townships, and it's two different culverts. But again, here's the list. In Northfield, we're working on Ellis Road in Ypsilanti Township. Again, Judd Road is a unique one because Judd Road extends from York into Augusta, and we have culverts on both. So we have an agreement with York, we have an agreement with Augusta, where we're gonna go and replace two culverts along Judd Road. We've got Noller Road, another one in Northfield Township. We've got Park Road, just down the street here on the unpaved portion of Park that's east of Zeeb Road. If you drive down that portion of Park Road, you get down to the bottom of the hill, I'll say, and there's a quite sizable culvert to be replaced there. Saline Waterworks Road in Lodi Township. I already mentioned the two culverts on Warner Road, and then Zeeb Road, just south of North Territorial Road up in Webster Township. So again, I can't state how much it's really meant to the road commission and to the townships that we work with to have that opportunity for that stormwater grant funding. That's really what initiated this volume of culvert work. And most of these are sizable culverts that are quite expensive to replace.
I'd just like to compliment operations. All of these happening have to be choreographed.
Yes.
So there's not gridlock
Yeah.
countywide with road closures. So kudos to all of you for anticipating that and understanding how the traffic needs to get around.
Well, and I'll say, on the part of operations, that outside the box thinking where they talk about, okay, we're gonna construct, because several of these culverts are, you assemble them, they come out in pieces, and then you have to find somewhere to assemble them. So you can assemble them on the road if the road is closed, or you can talk to an adjacent property owner that maybe has a big field that would be willing to let us assemble the culvert out in the big field rather than having to close the road to do that. And that's where they work with Kurt Brochet, our right-of-way manager, to go and engage that property owner and talk about, hey, would you be willing to allow us to do this for the betterment of the public and for the road that's adjacent to your field? Could we build this culvert in your field? So we've really realized a good amount of success working with those property owners.
And then not to interfere with whatever they've planted.
Yes,
Or
it
put-
does have to be during a certain time
Right,
of year. Yes, you
right,
don't want to ruin
Right, a lot of
crops
moving parts. in the-
by trying to build a culvert in a field. That's true, yes. So I'll touch on traffic and safety. So again,
Michelle?
this is Michelle. No,
She just had to take a call, I saw her.
Oh, okay. So, within engineering, we have, the design and construction department. We have permits, and then we have traffic and safety. So traffic and safety, Michelle Ford, our senior project manager, oversees traffic and safety. Traffic and safety, and we'll go through this, it includes the signal crew. So Mark Fenelon is our signal maintenance supervisor. And it includes the sign crew. So that's Julie Nixon. She's our sign foreman. So again, we've got those two groups are part of the traffic and safety section.
Just in time.
There she is.
There's Michelle.
Mhm.
So again, Michelle oversees the traffic and safety section. Some of the work that they do within that section is Mark and his crew work on our traffic signals countywide. So that's a variety of new signals, upgraded signals. We talk about flashing beacons. So flashing beacons would be when you approach an intersection, be it like a two-way stop control or a four-way stop control intersection, you're going to see that blinking light hanging up above the intersection. That would be a flashing beacon. There's a variety of funding sources for this. Often the funding that's realized to improve a traffic signal or to install a traffic signal comes through construction mitigation air quality. So we call that CMAQ is one of the acronyms that we use. So congestion mitigation air quality. So if you think about the function of an intersection, again, if you have a lot of idling vehicles at an intersection, they are contributing more to congestion. They're diminishing air quality at that intersection because they're idling. People are waiting to get out into the flow of traffic. We see an issue with this particularly during peak hours at some of our intersections. So Michelle, working with her staff, is able to pursue federal aid grants to address congestion, to mitigate that congestion, thereby improving air quality. And we also are able to utilize our road commission budget, Michigan transportation funds, to invest in our signal network and to improve the function of that. Oftentimes when we talk about signals, we're not looking at just new signal installations, but we're looking at upgrading the existing signals so they work in concert with one another. We want to, particularly along corridors like I'll use Carpenter Road as an example, or Huron Road south of I-94. You have several signals along those corridors, and if you can improve the communication between those signals, you can better move that flow of traffic through them. And that's better for the motorist, it's better for the environment. There's a lot of pluses when you can get those signals to communicate and to coordinate the timing. The vast majority of our signals now are, we refer to them as actuated signals. the signals have sensors in the pavement that basically they register approaching traffic and idling traffic, and that basically actuates, it prompts the signal to make a change and for that light to change to accommodate where the traffic is at.
Us non-engineers call them smart signals.
Smart signals. Yeah, we'll call them smart signals.
Commissioner Green.
One question, okay. This speaks to traffic signals. Who is responsible for the cost of the pedestrian signals that may be along the roadway?
Yeah, so if ultimately, if it's a new signal project that's
Right.
going in, that would be part of the project cost, is we would install pedestrian signals there. If it's the continued maintenance of those PED signals, again, that would be our cost. If it's at a intersection, if it's at a traffic signal. Now, what would be different is if it's at a mid-block crossing.
Right.
Where we have, for instance, rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Right.
So again, the acronym we use for those are RRFBs. Those are those blinky lights where if it's at a mid-block crossing, so it's not at a signalized intersection, but it's between signalized intersections, but you've got a need or you've got a heavy movement of pedestrians, ultimately the townships bear that financial
Okay.
cost. They have to pay for that installation and for the continued maintenance of that. An unfortunate example on that one is there is a RRFB, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, mid-block on Packard Road in Pittsfield Township near Hawks. So Packard and Hawks, for whatever reason, it gets hit on a regular basis. And we've kind of had to think outside the box and think about why are people hitting that signal? And thankfully, it's not when there's a pedestrian there. And one of the things that was brought to our attention is along that corridor, when the sun is setting in the west, if you're a driver coming westbound and the sun is in your eyes, it's really tough to see where that mid-block crossing is. So we've improved that by putting more plastic delineators up to draw attention to that mid-block crossing. And now we've had people hit the plastic delineators, but those are a lot cheaper to replace than them hitting like the pedestrian push button. So again, for those type of signals, ultimately it's an agreement between the road commission and the township. They pay for the installation and then they have to pay for our continued maintenance. But if it's at a signalized intersection,
Right.
like Packard and Carpenter
That's
or
ours.
Packard and Gulfside, that's ours.
That's
So we
ours.
take care of not only the traffic signal, but the pedestrian push buttons and the pedestrian signals that would be there. So we've got a number of traffic signal projects that'll take place this year. One of them that we've already completed is at Parker and Shield near Dexter High School. So that project was completed earlier this year. Again, that was a federal aid project. So that was bid and contracted through the Michigan Department of Transportation. Dan's Excavating was the contractor on that project, and they actually started the work during the winter time. It was very early in the year, but diligently worked on that. One of the goals we had there was to complete that signal before we started the work in Dexter that's going on right now, because we knew that there would be more traffic going through that intersection during the closure at Island Lake and Dexter Chelsea. And so we wanted to make sure that we had that signal up and functioning, and I'm happy to report that that happened. Huron River Drive at Hogback, Packard at Dalton. So again, Michelle, Packard at Dalton, do you want to come up and talk a little bit about that one in particular? Like that one is right there near the school, correct?
Sure. So I'm Michelle Ford, Senior Project Manager, Traffic and Safety. So the next 5 that are listed there, Huron River Drive at Hogback, Packard Dalton, Ellsworth Palisades, Ellsworth at Roundtree, and Michigan Ave at Mansfield. All of those are within our current CMAQ contract that he was talking about. And they currently have signals, but they're in a diagonal span, which means there's 2 poles on opposite corners and there's like 1 span across it. We're going to change all of those into what we call a box span. So there'll be poles on all 4 corners and there'll be signals all around. That is actually improves the safety of the intersection. It allows us to do some extra traffic movements with left turn lanes and stuff. Packard and Dalton, Aaron is correct, is near a school. So for that one, we did a road safety audit recently through SEMCOG on that Packard Road, Carpenter Road corridor, because there was some safety concerns. This particular intersection was identified as recommending an upgrade. We're like, great, we already have it planned. So what we're also going to do is then incorporate some changes in the crossing speed. They have large volumes of children that cross there with a crossing guard in the morning. When we set our crossing speeds as people walk across a crosswalk, we have certain speeds that we think of, but usually it's to get 1 or 2 pedestrians across, gives you enough time for that. We don't always plan for groups of people that are naturally going to take longer to cross the road. So we're going to lengthen that crossing speed to give those crossing guards more time to get those children across. We'll actually also be implementing a reduced school zone speed limit in that area to help with that crossing guard. Any questions on those upgraded signals?
Commissioner Yamas?
No, but I'm familiar with all of these areas, and the one at Packard Road in Dalton has always given me pause as I see these kids and cars are just flying and have to like slam on their brakes because there's not enough. There's so many small children crossing at that because it's an elementary school that they're going to.
Yes, there's a lot of children crossing there, and like I said, and we decided at the time we do the signal upgrade will be good timing to also put that reduced speed school zone speed limit, reduced school zone speed limit. I think about how to say that.
Yeah, and Michelle mentions the road safety audit. You know, we partnered with Pittsfield Township and with Pittsfield Township PD. They were included in that road safety audit as we reviewed the Carpenter Road corridor and the Packard Road corridor, because in addition to the signal upgrades and reducing that school zone speed through this area, that other component of that is enforcement. And so I was very happy to see that Pittsfield Township PD was involved in that conversation, because motorists, as they travel through this corridor with the new signal and the new reduced speed limit, they might need a reminder. And the best reminder is they might need to get stopped by a police officer. So, yeah.
Very good.
Commissioner Green?
Yes. You mentioned that the conversion from diagonal to box span was a safety feature. How does it improve safety, and is it more expensive than the old way?
Well, in one sense, it's more expensive in that you have more signal heads because you're going to have dedicated to each lane. There'll be more signal heads. However, this is part of a CMAQ grant, which is mostly covered by our federal grant. We have very little contribution to that. That's one of the nice things about the CMAQ grants. With the diagonal span, we're limited on how much we can hang from one span from a weight standpoint. This allows us, like I said, to have more signal heads, which have been shown to be safer to people, that they are looking at the signal that's right in their lane. It also allows us to put more like left turn signals in, things like that. So Federal Highways has done their research, and Brent can.
Yeah, I'll kind of elaborate a little bit on that. So with the box span, those signals are on the far side of the intersection. And so as a driver, you know, that stopped at the stop bar, it's a further distance away for them to see that signal, where a diagonal span may be closer to the stop bar. And so you're trying to look at a sharper angle up at that signal. So that's what makes it safer, so that they can see that signal head. And an added bonus to that is it actually helps our signal maintenance crews, because instead of them setting their lift truck up in the middle of the intersection, they're actually on the leg of the intersection. And so they're only having to deal with one leg of the intersection instead of right in the middle and having to deal with all 4 legs.
That's great. Thank you.
Who knew?
Thanks, Michelle.
Good to see you, Michelle.
And I'll say right now, Michelle did not know that I was gonna call her up here. But
Say I was dealing with, I'll say, I was on the phone with one of our count crew, kids, cause they're out, we're converting, we're doing a 2-way to a 4-way stop tomorrow morning out at Zeeb Road and Pleasant Lake Road, Lake Road.
Fly.
Oh, and so it is an all hands on deck for traffic and safety department. So they are currently out searching for a location to put the big changeable message boards. And they're having a challenge because the ditches. So they were calling me to say, we can't find it. Where should we go? How far away? There's a house.
These are your interns, your summer
Yes.
interns?
someone else.
Yes, and who have never placed these boards before, and they're doing a good job, but it's a challenging road.
Yes,
So
it is.
that's why I was trying to
Thank you.
help
Those,
them find
those
a
go
spot.
live tomorrow?
It goes live tomorrow. We'll be putting out, the sign shop will be putting out new signs for the people on Pleasant Lake. We'll
Yeah.
be having to put, stop bars on Pleasant Lake. We'll be putting little temporary, rumble strips. They'll just be little count tubes. We'll have our portable changeable message board. The signal crew will be out there changing it from a yellow and red beacon to all red. I've talked with operations. They're gonna try to get me a flagger. So if we have, people who are having to set things out in the lane, trying to think who else. It's gonna be a lot of us
It's
out
gonna be
there.
a lot. It's across the.
Oh, and I've been in contact, Brett has talked with Lodi Township. And then I've been in contact with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, and they're aware of it and may come out as well.
And this is predicated why?
So we have a warrant analysis. There's certain things that we look for. This particular intersection, the largest warrant that was driving this was crashes. There's quite a few crashes. Once we did the analysis and decided that it does warrant not only a 4-way stop, but a signal. We're gonna start with a 4-way stop because it takes longer to get a signal up. We wanted to make sure that we got it done before that Zeeb and Scioto Church roundabout project, because once that is closed, it's gonna drive people toward this intersection. So it was important to implement this quickly, so we'll all be working together.
It's on the agenda this afternoon for approval, the traffic control order.
Yes, so make sure you approve that.
Vote yes. No, I appreciate the consideration for that intersection. It's a scary one, depending on which way you're driving.
Yeah.
Commissioner Green.
So is this an example of a diagonal?
Well,
Not really.
it in the sense that it has 2 poles and there's 1 span wire, and we've got that, the flashing beacon on that 1 span. So yeah, so if you took that and put additional signal heads for a full signalized, that would be like a diagonal span.
Thank you.
When we do a signal, it'll be a box span.
Yeah.
We will. In fact, there's already the 2 poles out there that beacon is hanging from. We'll put another 2 poles on the other corners and put a full box span in.
And when's that scheduled?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, there's a calendar that says not yet. All right,
Correct. That is
It's not in
correct.
the budget, therefore not yet.
got it, understood.
So we have our 4-way stop is our interim, thing.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Okay,
That'll be great.
Okay, thanks.
good. All right.
Good interest in
Go
that.
back my intern.
So, and again, why was there the focus on Pleasant Lake and Zeeb? The next slide talks about, that the roadway system, that we monitor it for improvements, for safety improvements. And, this intersection has been brought up in the past by Lodi Township, by motorists, and we acknowledge that. We welcome that input from the townships, from motorists. Again, they can oftentimes be our eyes and ears out there. We also rely on the Washtenaw County Sheriff in many instances to provide feedback to us on intersections, for instance, that there are some concerns with. And then we continue to monitor those to see when they would meet the warrants. And again, when we talk about warrants, those are established by the Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. The acronym for that is the MMUTCD. The MMUTCD outlines things like it sets the standard for traffic signals, for signs, and it also talks to warrants. When do you take a two-way stop control intersection and go to a four-way stop control intersection? It provides a rhyme and reason as to when we do that, so that we're not just, I'll use the term willy-nilly running around. And because someone called and said, hey, I saw something happen, we run out and put up a four-way stop. We have to have a basis for that. It's data-driven. And so Michelle mentions at Zeeb and Pleasant Lake, the driver there was primarily crashes, that there had been a certain number of crashes of a certain type over a certain period of time that then warranted us putting up a four-way stop. It's not that we're trying to be reactionary, but again, we have to have a basis for doing that, because what we found is if you put up a four-way stop control where it's not warranted, people will not comply with that stop. The sign that goes up, I use the term magic. It's not a magic sign. The drivers largely, you see through their actions whether or not like a four-way stop control is warranted. So, but again, we do monitor the roadway system, and there's a wide variety of improvements that can be made. We've noted here that a center turn lane, a center left turn lane. So you may not necessarily go from a two-way stop control to a four-way stop control if you see there's a prevalence of rear-end crashes. Rear-end crashes means someone stopping in that through lane to make a left turn, and there are multiple instances where people are getting rear-ended. You're providing that center turn pocket to get them out of the flow of traffic so they can safely navigate that turn. And we talk about enhanced pavement markings and signage. I'll bring up that we continue to work with Julie Nixon, our sign foreman, and enhance our signage. Things like putting up, we call them lollipops, but they're basically reflective strips that go on things like stop signs. And when you put those two reflective strips, those red strips on that sign, it pops to the driver. They have better recognition of, I need to stop here. We'll put up double signs. If we have an intersection where we're experiencing an issue, we'll put up double signs. We've started to put up more signs that say crossroad traffic does not stop at those more rural two-way stop controlled intersections to remind drivers, don't be misled, don't get confused. That traffic that's flowing the other direction is not going to stop for you. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a question about, you were talking about that if there's rear ending because there's not that middle lane.
Yep.
Because there's so many going on, how do you find that information out, and what's the number of rear ends does it take to make that middle lane, that turn lane?
Yeah, and really what it is we've got intersections again through reports, be it from the Washtenaw County Sheriff or the township or our operations staff, drawing our attention to a specific intersection.
Okay.
We're then closely monitoring that intersection to see when it would meet that threshold where there's been a prevalence of a certain type of crash that would be correctable. Because the large majority of crashes are caused by driver error. Ultimately, we're trying to overcome driver error. If someone is stopped in the through lane and they're making a left-hand turn, you should not run into the back of that vehicle as a licensed driver. But if there's a prevalence of that, there's clearly some need for us to try to correct that driver error. I don't know exactly what that threshold number would be, but there is, as we're tracking those intersections, there is a threshold that's met.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit to that. So there's not really a number that we're looking at for a center left turn lane or for that auxiliary lane. It's mainly we're looking at patterns, and we're reviewing that road, and Michelle and her team are looking at, there's a program called Numeric, and that, so it's a database that Michigan State Police, all of our local police, they have to submit their crash reports to this database that then they're able to pull down, and they can actually collect a lot of information from this database to help them make decisions. One aspects that we look at and that as we're reviewing crashes for center left turn lanes, we are not a big advocate on the bypass lane. So some agencies will install where you can, somebody's turning left in the lane, you can bypass and go on the right side of them. We are not big fans of that. We do not advocate for that type of improvement. We see issues with that. Particular if you have a vehicle that is turning left in that through lane, depending on the next following vehicle, they may decide to go around that vehicle really late. And so then they bypass around, and then the third car then ends up rear-ending that vehicle. So we always like to move them out of the flow of traffic in a center left turn lane.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yamas?
Right, I don't like those either.
Right.
Like
Oh,
left
we have
onto,
another vote for
yeah.
you.
left onto Craig Road off of Michigan Avenue is that,
Yeah.
that people, and there's often accidents there, and it's scary to turn, like looking in the back, like, are they gonna stop? Are they gonna stop? Are they gonna stop?
Yeah, there's certain warrants that can be met for those bypass lanes or for center left turn lane based on volume, and that's opposing volume and turning volume. But we always choose that center left turn lane than the bypass lane. We do have a few in our county still, but as we see those and as we're doing projects, we'll quickly convert those over to a center left turn lane.
Great.
Commissioner Green?
Just for the record, I like them.
He else want to weigh in on that. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll cover before I turn it over to Adam Lape is pavement markings. So much of the work that's done in traffic and safety is trying to maintain the system because whether it be pavement markings or signs or guardrail, they do have a finite life. They're exposed to the elements, they're exposed to traffic. I've always found it impressive. Again, I keep referencing Julie Nixon and the sign crew, the number of signs that get hit in the county. And again, I've driven a vehicle since I was, I'll say 16, but yeah, about 14 when my dad started to have me drive. And so in all those years, I've never hit a road sign. I feel like I'm missing out on an opportunity because there are an incredible number of road signs that get hit. So be it through damage incurred due to vehicles or Mother Nature itself, many of the things that traffic and safety manages, they're exposed constantly and they have to be replaced on a regular basis. We'll talk about pavement markings here. There's actually over 6 million feet of long line. So that's the yellow center line and the white edge line or the white blips that are the lane lines. There's over 6 million feet of long line that we're responsible for. Each year, we're spending about $1 million is carved out of the budget. That number this year in the budget is about $1 million. Michelle would take more if she could get it because there's an incredible need for pavement markings to be not so much added. Now we do add them when we resurface a road or when our operations crew goes out and they perform a seal coat. Then we need to paint new lines. But a lot of the work we do is just, we call it retrace, where we have to have the contractor go out and reapply that lane line because it wears off through the action of Mother Nature, through the fact that during the winter, to keep those roads to promote the safety of the traveling public during the winter, we are scraping the road and throwing salt down on it. That does those pavement markings no good, but it's necessary. And so what's also necessary is for us to return to those roads and put those pavement markings back on. And we talk about long line, and then also part of that we refer to as specials. That's just a term we use within the engineering department. So that would be like your stop bars, your turn arrows, your crosswalks, and the green paint is actually what you see now in some bike lanes. You'll see where the entire bike lane is painted green. And basically, again, that's to draw driver awareness to that lane. I'll say one of the nearby locations is at the interchange at Ann Arbor Saline Road and I-94. There's a fair amount of that green paint. The specific name of that paint is Endurablend. It's very resistant to wear, and you know it's very resistant because it's quite expensive. And so there are different types of paint. Generally, as the cost goes up, the durability of the paint also goes up. So the one thing I'll mention about pavement markings, just because I find it interesting, is pavement markings, the paint isn't so much reflective. They put glass beads in the paint. And so sometimes you'll see them installing pavement markings like specials, and they will literally take like a handful of what looks like dust and they will throw it down on there, and that's actually glass beads. And so that reflects the headlights of the vehicle that's approaching. You can imagine when we go out as an agency and we scrape those roads during the winter, one of the first things that's coming off is those glass beads are getting scraped off. So, but I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to Adam. As far as I know, I don't work for Adam yet, but Brent continues to introduce me as the Assistant Director of Operations. So I'd be happy to work with you if that so happens. So you go ahead and talk about maintenance.
Thanks, Aaron. Adam Leap, Director of Operations. I certainly would work for anybody in the room or with them. So we'll keep Aaron around just in case we do for today's presentation. So I just have a few slides, excuse me, that I'll talk about just our general maintenance. What we do every year, it's the same conversation we'll have. We'll also release this, we talk to the public for the virtual meeting as well. So for us in the operations department, a lot of it is routine maintenance. So that's your pothole patching or drainage, grading work. The grading, what that is, that's part of the dust control program. So that's usually the first part of the dust control program. We finish the grading, then we come back and spread the dust suppression material and move on. When we do have some moisture, present like we do right now, sometimes we can use the grading opportunity and not have to use brine to do it when we have that moisture present. And then as we get down towards the last three on the screen, that's really our responsiveness type of work that we do. You have incident response, where a lot of times we're called out to assist with incidents all throughout the road system. And then obviously storm cleanup, which is a little more unfortunate, but it is the case that we do have to work through that quite frequently throughout the year. Most times it's minor, just a tree here, a tree there, branch here, things like that. But as we get some intense weather events, sometimes we have to respond a little differently with that and make a little bit more adjustments there out in the field. And then road hazard removal. That can be a combination of quite a few things. It can be animals, and it can be also bits and pieces of vehicles. Really depends kind of what the day is going to give us. So that's kind of an up in the air thing. Something that's not on the slide that I always try to make the note of, we do have engineering team that comes out that we've kind of talked about, the signal and sign groups. They're also out doing routine maintenance and also emergent response as well for certain incidents. So just like Burke was just saying about signs getting struck, sometimes stop sign gets struck. They have to respond fairly quickly to that. So that team is kind of part of the day-to-day with us in general. So the agency, not just one department, is kind of out performing some of this stuff on the daily.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you.
Yeah.
One question that I get asked continually is, what is our responsibility regarding roadkill?
For us,
Yes.
so our responsibility is the navigable portion of the roadway. We're supposed to clear that. and
Which
we
is
respond.
between the white lines.
Between the lines, yeah. So if it is not laying in the road, we have no responsibility to move it. That's a natural thing that we have to just let work its course. It also alleviates some of the risk of our people trying to move that type of debris as well.
Okay.
Are you planning to introduce your?
Yes, they get to come up if we have,
And
we get into, when we get into the scheduling side
Okay,
of things. Is
okay.
Jared back in the? Jared was playing phone tag with somebody. Yeah, I didn't know if Jared snuck in there on us. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Yamas.
So it's just to get it out of the white line. That doesn't mean that you have to pick it up and take it away.
Correct.
Set it outside the
Yeah.
white lane, right?
Correct.
That's
Yeah, so we We essentially just clear the road of the debris. Same thing we do with just brush. We push it off. People typically claim animals, but they'll claim some of the tree debris sometimes. So yeah, our main responsibility is typically to move it to the side and then we move on. We
Yeah.
don't have.
For the public, because they think we're
Correct.
supposed to pick it up.
And that's
Yeah.
our
Just another
current
reminder.
board policy,
Yeah.
essentially, on how we deal with road hazards
Mhm.
such as deer carcasses.
Yep.
There are other road commissions that will take it to the dump. So, but it is extremely costly to dispose of in that manner. So it is a balance. That is our current policy,
Mhm.
and that could be a separate topic at some point, but
Yeah.
currently that's our practice, that's our policy.
Yep.
Others have other policies, but by and large, I think we're in line with the majority of road commissions in the state
Agreed.
with how we handle it.
Agreed.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you.
And even as it relates to our MDOT contract, we have no responsibility to remove deer kill,
So
roadkill.
per the MDOT contract, it
Yep.
would reflect the same as what we do. We pull it out of the way, and
Yep.
Adam, you can speak to it.
Yeah, so that's same thing. You know, what's left of the carcass is moved off to the shoulder, and then we move on. Most times with obviously given the speeds, it's unfortunate when incidents like that occur, there's not much other than just some debris that we kind of slide off and move on.
Yeah.
With,
Adam's gently speaking to it, but ultimately,
yeah,
on a heavy traveled urban area, there's not much of the animal left once struck. By the time we get called out and dispatch resources, there's not much there left.
yeah.
Now, is there a distance that we have to remove it to, like 10 feet, 20 feet,
Beyond
30
the white
feet?
line,
Yeah, we just clear the road.
beyond the white line.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
And I believe legal counsel has advised us of that as well,
Yeah.
what our responsibility is.
Some agencies got into trouble with is they would take the deer carcass, throw it down in the ditch, and then you have water quality issues
Mhm.
Mhm.
because it's decomposing.
That's right.
And so you do not want to take it and put it out of sight, so to speak. That is not a general
Yeah,
practice.
not an ideal
Right.
practice.
So you can get into trouble in that manner.
Yeah. Mother Nature, fortunately, does
Take it
quite a bit
forward.
of the work. Yeah, it works its course. Other animals kind of benefit from that and kind of finds its way in processes. But yeah, less than desirable outcome. Okay, so for the scheduled maintenance is really where Ken and Jared, who are in the room here, we have Ken Harris to my left.
And to be
Oh,
recognized,
there you go,
gentlemen,
Ken,
please.
Smiling faces. So
You're-
Ken
you're
Harris is
in the blind
superintendent.
zone. I know that
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
intentional.
Come on into this. Yeah, there you go. So I'll bring up Ken Harris. He's the superintendent of maintenance, and we'll introduce Jared Powers, assistant superintendent. of maintenance.
Yeah.
So,
Ken Harris, superintendent.
Jared Powers, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you.
So really, the three of us have been here for some time, as the board knows, but we'll put it on the record to kind of clarify some of this. So Jared was working here prior to Ken and I starting full-time here. Ken and I have been about 6 months of arrival in 2014 here at the agency. So I started in the summer, Ken came that December. And then, like I said, Jared was working on the crews and then worked in our permits department. So he's been around us for a little bit as well. So it's a great team to have. They're kind of my group for the scheduling. You know, they're the ones that are really helping us. I take no credit for the stuff that we accomplish because they have to go every day. And you've seen that same as Michelle, where they're in and out of the room because they're usually getting a call every 5-10 minutes and doing this, that, or the other. So these two kind of set us up for our maintenance each year. I'll talk a little bit about it in general terms, and if there are questions, then Ken and Jared can help with that as well. So dust control, as everyone in the room understands, and we kind of like to talk to the public about it, typically starts mid-spring. So let's say in the last month or so, we can start that process throughout the summer, where roads start to dry out and heal, as we refer to it a lot of times, from the winter months, where we can actually scrape them and grade them and cut them a little bit deeper to kind of reestablish the crown, restabilize the road. And then we certainly utilize the dust suppression material to do that for us, to help us. So that scheduling starts with the group. They work with the foreman day and day, to kind of schedule that and move that project forward. So that's ongoing. As much as we can, we get days like today where it rains a little bit. Sometimes we have to shift a little bit and go just to like I referred to earlier, where we're just grading or maybe cutting drainage bleeders, where we can try to off the water off the road for the time being until it dries out and get back to our actual process of dust control. Then we have second here on the screen, the roadside mowing. Probably familiar with it, but a little bit more familiarity over the last few years. We've made some changes budget wise that has helped us contractually. So now we're able to mow 2 full passes throughout the season for both our primary and local roads. Where in the past we were doing our primary roads twice. There were even years where we weren't doing those twice. And then now to do the local system as well. So that's the unpaved system throughout the townships that is in dire need of mowing quite a few times throughout the year. So it's nice to finally get that program established. We're appreciative of that support. We believe in time it's going to start showing itself as we're able to mow this grass and keep it grass. Because as you see, a lot of brush overhangs the road. That was one-time grass, and we just weren't able to mow it, whether it be budget or equipment wise. We weren't able to mow it enough while it was grass to keep it grass. And so then you see the boom mowers coming into play, the forester trimming that's necessary before we do projects. A lot of that comes into play because we couldn't start at the front side of it where it's just simply mow that 5-foot swath down the road, or 8 feet if we're lucky. So it's very critical for the agency to have the roadside mowing and keep that program robust. I'd love to see it continue developing, and I think in time we'll get to that point, but you know, we're baby steps throughout this and just evolving how we do our maintenance. So most times contracted out roadside mowing. The team, Jared oversees it quite often, both the state trunk line portion of the mowing, which is a little different than the county side mowing. Obviously, because we do that, we have to do budget constraints for MDOT as well when we do our mowing. So internally, Jared's able to schedule those 2 times a year to mow throughout the system. And then any subsequent or supplemental stuff that we need to do, any mowing, any trimming, we can do that with in-house, or we can have those contractors do that for us as well. And they've been successful for us for quite some time, excuse me. And then third on there is street sweeping, also done twice a year. That's been our practice, but that is any curbed segment throughout the county road system, both primary and local, will be swept twice annually. And Jared also oversees that as well. And obviously, you know, Ken and I have some input in it, but Jared really runs with that, has direct connection to these, either whether it be supervisors or owners of these companies that do this for us, and can really stipulate what we do and then get the information out. Because street sweeping specific has always been a conversation point. We always try to notify the townships as best we can. And so now having one point of contact directly to essentially the provider, which is this contractor, we're able to get the exact days we're going to go sweep in there, and we're able to notify the townships, because we have to work around rubbish collection, just general notification, because some townships try to help us and prompt the constituents to try to keep vehicles off the road. Street sweeping is really similar to plowing snow, where it's ideal if there isn't anything parked against the side of the road. But as we know, reality is a little different than that sometimes. So these guys have to maybe coordinate around that from time to time. But we have very good contractors that quite frankly have actually got cheaper. We just talked about the other day on Jared, maybe you would talk about this the best. We had a good laugh yesterday. This is the first contractor I know in my 20-some years that actually got cheaper.
Yeah, we were doing that.
Identify yourself.
This is Jared Powers, Assistant Superintendent. We were going over our sweeping invoices yesterday, and I had to laugh. I told Adam, I think this is the only contractor that I've ever seen that the invoices actually got cheaper this year than they were a year ago. So it was kind of not by a lot, but it was actually a little bit better price. So that was it was interesting to see compared to everything else in the world today that's gone
More.
up. So
Why
yeah,
do you
does a good
think,
job with what he does, and prices it really fair. So
why do you think it dropped?
I think he wants to keep the contract and
Okay.
and continue with the work, I think. So
And you're happy with it?
yeah, he
With
does a good
the-
job. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, all of our contractors do good work for us. So yep.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, very interesting that something's a little.
Mr. Harris, want to add anything?
Oh, we have one question.
Man, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. So at the last, conference, there, was a vendor there for street sweeping, He had a street sweeping machine that was different. It didn't just roll the brush roll, it sort of pushed it back and collected in some sort of vessel. And I don't know, it was a lot of, road commissions there, but he thought that we had contracted with him. Is that true that we are getting a new contractor?
We have, we're going to rent a sweeper, for our own personal, for our crew to run, I think for about a month.
Yeah.
So part of that was in response to the cleanup, for like our winter maintenance stuff. We used a lot of sand and grit this winter because of salt shortage and stuff. So we were running that ourselves to help clean up stuff. So that might be the machine you're referring to. Our contractor uses the same machines that he has used previously, to do our regular routine sweeping twice a year.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Ken Harris, superintendent. So that was from Best Rentals.
I think
Is the
so, yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yep. So we're in coordination with him. We're gonna, most likely probably this week, we'll send a few guys out there, do some initial training and get the unit. The initial unit that we have proposed, they haven't freed one up, but it's the next one has the same capabilities. So we gotta have something that's got the high dump with the side dump, because the ones sometimes they have is the rear dump, which doesn't help us out. So we can have a truck follow around. And so we'll start it on our chip seal program, mainly sweeping our white lines in preparation of the chip seal. And then when we do our chip seal down a center line, when they do the center line joint, we'll still run our Royce brooms, our orange brooms that we have on the chip seal program. And so we'll use that machine. We'll run it for a month, try to complement throughout the county, see. So we've got areas that people have areas and subdivisions that have complaints. We've got a list generated and we'll run through those. And so those areas that we're just trying to complement, see what kind of usage we can get out of that for a month and the capabilities of it as well. So.
Thank you.
Yep, yeah, and so what Ken was referring to is the side dump that you hear reference to occasionally. That's actually so those machines will raise up as high as our dump trucks and they actually side load into our equipment. So we can take the material away, for example, the chipstone, we can bring it back and reuse it. Because we collect it as soon as it goes down. So that's really important to us because then you don't have the machinery essentially finish sweeping, get full, have to drive somewhere, offload, come back, you can keep them essentially on site. Or in these cases, our crew can stay movement because the person can hop in that machinery, operate. If they need to dump, they can dump offload into another truck that's sitting and waiting. They can go back to do their job, or they can go get their job 2 or 3 they're going to do for the day. And so it ends up becoming a machine we have out there on the job, a tool, as opposed to the whole operation just by itself. So efficiency comes a little further with that. But yes, the newer units now are a little more developed. They're finding just regular road debris is getting heavier, and sometimes constituents don't help with some of the stuff they leave behind, and mow clippings out into the road, leaf debris, things like that obstruct a normal traditional street sweeper. These newer machines have a little bit more vacuum power where they can kind of collect the stuff a little bit better. They still don't pick up leaves and debris like that. They have separate machines and processes for that we don't undertake. But nonetheless, some of these new machines that Ken and Jared have found us, going to be some options to use just to kind of supplement what we already are doing.
Thank you.
Just to improve. Yep. Okay, so scheduling. So really getting into talking about what Ken and Jared are doing every day. So there's probably gonna be some questions that we can talk about with them if they come up. So from my standpoint, when we usually talk to the virtual meetings, so to the public about this, our maintenance scheduling is really that mid-spring, like I referred to. So mid-April runs you through usually mid-November. Obviously, we need dry and stable road bases to do the majority of our work. Also, there's some environmental restrictions that we try to balance. Primarily, though, is just we need the consistent weather. As you see that kind of note there, we need that consistency. Most of the materials we use or whatever install or put down typically need some consistent temperatures to apply. And that goes for paving, for line striping, for a lot of the things that we use just from the agency in general. Salt and brine are about the only things that work when it's cold, but they work when it's cold by design. So it's something that we do in the winter, obviously. And then off-season projects, they do occur, but we always like to make that note because that came in a few years ago. We had to do a few culverts in a December period where we had some decent weather. We just like to talk about that because sometimes you may see the crew out there, and very likely maybe even this year where you're working late season, or very early season, call it, you know, after January, if the weather frees up a little bit, or if there's some emergencies that we need to take care of, we can perform the work, but it is certainly slower, and less effective when it's off season. So I say that we'll just call it the colder months of the year. A little bit more challenging. The road beds are certainly not stable at that time of the year either. And then at the bottom is a big note that we continue to talk about. It's very much weather dependent. Ken and Jared, they probably watch the weather forecast more than they watch what we actually want to do with the foreman. Just because we have to make pretty good decisions ahead of time to have an idea of, do we order material? Do we start a project or not? Today even we joked about it a little earlier this morning. We were upstairs for an hour and 10 minutes. And by the time we came back down, it was raining. I walked in the building at 7:40. It's, you know, perfectly fine. The sun is out. We had limestone being spread. Crews were trying to prep for some other work. And then, you know, within an hour or so, it changed his mind. We were able to keep going for the most part, but dust control had to get paused a little bit for the day. So it just poses some challenge from time to time. So our group is very flexible. They pivot pretty quickly.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Green.
what might be an example of an off-season project?
So off-season project, Ken can probably talk about it as well. Off-season projects are really, maybe you want to use an example of an emergency culvert that we would see. So I'll set it up, the example, and then Ken can walk through some of the ones we've done before. An example would be specific to, let's say, an early November snow event. You have snow, at least start the day, it warms up a little bit, then it turns into heavy rainfall. That heavy rainfall, because things are starting to become unstable because it's just the end of the season, it may already be wet from other previous snow or rain, and maybe wash out a culvert. And so then when the road starts to wash out over top of culvert, Mr. Harris, you want to talk a little bit about that process where we kind of set an emergency closure and then we inevitably would change that call?
Yeah, as Adam alluded to, the culvert repair is probably one of the most frequent one. We have ones when we get some concrete. We did a structural repair last year on Stanford Road. That was kind of off peak, but it was something that we could do internally. So some of those smaller projects that we can do in-house, we've kind of got a big backlog of items that come up on kind of a rainy day list. And those items come up. And if the weather allows us to, and the ground's not frozen, we can extend that workload later in the season and try to push a button and try to get as much done as we can within that small window of opportunity we have. But once the ground freezes, we kind of remove some items that we think we can do with the ground's not frozen and kind of move on to the next one. So kind of varies from season to season as the weather projects where we can go and what lists we can complete. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we noted, it is very complicated. The moving parts that we always refer to, MDOT, and that's not a slight to them, just sometimes we have to coordinate with MDOT for things, whether we have MDOT responsibilities or MDOT may have a closure for a bridge they may be building where we have to make some adjustments on our season works, which is fine. So we work all these coordination meetings, we kind of talk that stuff through as best we can. Same as we do in-house, we try to be a part of that with MDOT if they have some closures coming that could affect our system. Environmental considerations, that's where you get into kind of permitting, types of the year that it's ideal to work, or some of the restrictions specific to culverts, since we're kind of talking about those a lot today. There's certain restrictions where we're just not permitted to be working in the stream bed at that time and disturbing the stream bed. So for whether it be snails, turtles, certain other mussels that we kind of work through. So those restrictions are real. You know, we try to honor those as best we can, unless there's some state of emergency, we have to reach out for different consideration, but most times we're able to work around the requirements. Utilities, that coordination is ongoing all the time. As early as, or as recent as yesterday, the engineering team worked with and permits worked with DTE to try to get some utilities out of the way so we could continue on some of our project work and some of their project work. So it's continued coordination, and really that coordination with other projects goes hand in hand with MDOT, and also, as we alluded to with Aaron earlier, that you have multiple culverts, you have paving, we have other projects going on. So we try to coordinate everything so we're not sending traffic down a road that may actually be closed by another project. Happened before, unfortunately, and we always try to learn, and that's really what taught us a lot of our coordination stuff over the last 10 or so years.
Yes. So with utilities, is that the fiber optics and all that included in that?
Yeah, combination of all utilities.
So it just seems like it's more and more. Is there a limit to how many they could put in a right of way?
Physical space, yeah, physical space unfortunately
Yeah.
that's about it, physical space.
We have seen an influx of, so this is Brent Schlack, Director of Engineering. Influx of fiber companies coming in, mainly in the subdivision areas. One aspect that we've implemented within permits is we've reached out to those HOAs and the townships to make them aware of how many requests or how many applications we're getting, to then have them determine is, their third or fourth company too many, or where is that community at?
So does it have to be, like if you're not part of a HOA or whatever, where do you go if all of these?
Yeah, so, then it's just based on our permitting process to make sure they follow our regulations for installing that utility, and there's very limited restrictions that we can have, because they do have a right to that public right of way. But in the HOAs, that's where we're seeing a larger influx of applications.
I just wonder because I just see, you see the flags and then
Yeah.
something's done, then you see the flags and then.
Yeah, we've had a lot of concerns, where equipment is sat there for a period of time, and so that's where we've tried to put that, part of our process to
Right.
reach out to the township and to the HOA.
Thanks, Ken and Jared.
Do you think the townships could do a policy of some sort or?
They may be able to have some type of ordinance or,
That's what
yeah, I'm not quite sure what their legal regulation could
Yeah.
be on that, but we're just trying to work in cooperation with them.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Sorry, the gentleman, we have a meeting coming up, so those two are going to start.
They
that.
have other things to do.
Yeah, so we got today down to a couple minutes of spare time here, so, but yeah, so obviously we have challenges that we kind of navigate each day and just a little bit complicated, but we piece by piece put things together and it usually finds its way, but not without a little bit of challenging things we have to go through. So we do well. The final two things are simplistic in the industry in general. Sometimes our special equipment breaks, so we are in shorts of parts more often than we'd like to be sometimes. And then supply challenges, just that baseline we've been okay recently, fingers crossed, but a few years ago, some of the galvanized industry had some deficiencies and failures, whether it be with their planting or shipping, and so guardrails were delayed, and certain devices we need to construct those guardrails were kind of delayed. So sometimes that takes time. That even affects the engineering team as well. Covered multiple times through projects over the last few years here. So right now we're okay. Fuel prices obviously are going to affect at some point. I think they'll affect operations type stuff. I think they affect us more next year, but that's just assumption right now. Because we'll see that, I think, in my opinion, in bids for materials or services later. Because most of our groups are kind of in the motion right now. So we'll see how that goes, but that's something we obviously have our eye on. That's another challenge that you don't see in the fine print there. And then finally, happy to be able to have the opportunity to talk about this slide. Aaron talks about it quite frequently, so do I. We do impact traffic. We know that we coordinate around that as best we can, but it's a note we always release in all our project meetings, which you guys have all been part of the virtual meetings. When it's closed, it's closed. Just let us work our process. More than likely we can get the road reestablished or at least one lane back open sooner than later if we just have that time to be able to work through it. So this is a great picture when we've been able to fully close a segment. Sometimes it takes that many devices to close something. So we always work through detours and obviously proper signage for a lot of this project work that we have. So what that does lead me to is introduction to the communications group in themselves. I'll kick off to Tiffany here, but most certainly the communications team really helps us, especially in operations and engineering, but operations daily because it changes daily in operations. And that's the unfortunate part, but sometimes we have to react to different scenarios. So they are exceptional and they're very flexible to try to help us through everything we need. We would not be as good as we are if we didn't have them behind the curtain trying to get information as far as they can out in front of us. So we very much appreciate that. And with that being said, I have to step out to another meeting, but Tiffany.
Yep.
Me and Brent are doing it together.
Oh, her.
Yep, so I'll kind of run the slides for Tiffany. So Brent Shellac, Director of Engineering. Our website, go ahead, Tiffany, I'll just pass it over to you.
So with our website, go ahead. You go to wcroads.org. And you can see there, we have a lot of information there. I'm just gonna kind of step through the information. I'm sitting back here kind of stepping through. That's why I'm not in person for those who are online. So when you go to wcroads.org, you can go to roadwork and construction. There, you will see the current projects. Click on the drop down there for current projects. Here, if you scroll down, you'll see an interactive map. And everything that Brent, Adam, and Aaron talked about is there on this screen, and it has a project page. So all the projects that they noted in this presentation has a project page for the most part. You can click on a line, double click it. Typically, it works. Technology. There you go. So North Territorial Road. And if you click on the more info, it will go to the project page. Also, you can also scroll back out of it. You know, the red dots. You can click on those. The Cherry Hill Bridge, Cherry Hill Road Bridge. You would click on the more info. It will take you to the project page. That's how you can work the interactive map. And again, on the project page, you will scroll down, you'll see a lot of information there about the road closure, it's in Superior Township. When it's happening, it's a bridge replacement, you scroll down there. And then the bridge closure there was Monday, May 11th is going, it happened there. Kevin Dubnicki's information there on the side. Also the detour that we have there. We just had this presentation. The video and the presentation slides are already uploaded there. You can also subscribe to receive these updates. We send these out as when the bridge is closed. All of that went to the people who subscribe, their email address. That goes to you when you say, I want to subscribe. You click on the subscribe button there and you put in your email address, your name, and your zip code. You can click on all of the various townships that you would like information on. We send those out. If whatever's happening in that particular township, that's where you find the info. That's what you would say. You would say you want that information from that township. Again, and we send out our weekly roadwork schedule. I will show you that in 1 second. You can click on that and these various projects here. We're going all the way to 2028. We're populating this all the way to 2028 because we're continuing to work. We're not just working for 2026, we're working for 2028 and so forth. So as the projects become live and as engineering and as operations say, this is a project I deem that needs this kind of information to be out there. We also have countywide culverts, countywide meaning that's happening across the county, across all the townships, the 20 townships. So you can click on whichever you would like information on. And then at the bottom there, once you are finished clicking on what you want and information-wise, you hit subscribe. And then that is how you subscribe to our email updates that we send out all the time. Now I can go back and show you the weekly roadwork schedule that is updated every Thursday. Every Thursday, we are sending this out for the week. We do include the weekend because i.e. construction doesn't stop just because the weekend happens. Like Brent said sometimes, and Adam said, sometimes we're working on Fridays and Saturdays, things like that. The contractor is working. We want people to know when they will be impacted in traffic. So we have all kinds of projects on here, from our dust control is on here, concrete curbs, whatever's going on. And we include MDOT projects. We have noticed that our residents want to know when an MDOT project is happening in our area. So we don't know a lot of the information. We know enough to tell you that this is blocked. Go to their website to find the information, but we can let you know that we do know that they have closed the road, or they have closed this bridge, or they're doing this work. So we're starting to provide some MDOT information, but we are linking them to MDOT. We are not the experts of that project. We just want people to know that. And we give them their contact information. Just want you to know all of that, especially with the US 23 projects happening. That is one of the big ones that people wanted. They were surfing our website for that. That is why that is on our weekly roadwork schedule. Anyway, I'll go back. And on the weekly roadwork schedule, you can see where we highlight, we make a link to the project page. So there's the project page. I just clicked from the weekly roadwork schedule and took you to the project page. We want to make things easy for people to get to click 1 or 2 clicks. We want to make sure it's easy for you to get to. Those are some options of our project page. I'm going to go back to our project page. Again, as I was telling you, you're on the project page, roadwork and construction current projects. I went back to that. Now, here you can see we're uploading the 2027 projects. You can scroll down. Obviously, the map is interactive, where it's constantly being uploaded, constantly being updated. So it's always a work in progress. We're updating all of our project pages. I'll go back, since we're in 2026. I just want people to know that we're updating that. So now we'll go back into 2026. Sorry about that. 2026 here. You can see how all of our project pages there. Brent mentioned a few projects that are happening, that are going on right now. He talked about the Martin Whitaker roundabout. We can talk about that. Becky Huell is there. That project is nearly like wrapping up. We put out a project update number 3. And so we put out pictures. We want you to know what is happening outside of there. Sometimes you can't go into our project zone. Many times you can't. So we want to show you. We want to give you the story behind what's going on in the project. And we show you pictures of what it looks like. And so that's important for our residents to understand the story behind the important work that we do. So that's also one way. And finally, our township pages. These are big. This is where all of our townships are happening, like all of our township pages and information. We break it down by township. We have 20 townships. This is where we're showing all of what's going on in every township. I'll just pick Scioto because we're in Scioto Township. And so here you'll see pictures. Sorry, the township booklet, what Matt was talking about. I just want to give you that. It's easy, clickable. You can go on there and you can find all the information there by the township booklet. This is what we send, like Matt said, to each township official so that they know what's going on, finances, projects, what you need. This is all the information there. Also, sorry about that. Also, I'll come back. Here you can find a whole bunch of information. We actually have a link to the township page. We want you to be able to find the township page, and that's the township website page. You click that button and you'll go right to Scioto Township. That is, we want to make it as easy as possible for the viewer, for the resident, to get to what they need and the information they want to get to. I'll go back in here. As I'm trying to explain, scroll down. Again, you'll see all of the projects happening within Scioto Township. That is the goal, for you to understand what is happening in your neighborhood, as they say, in your neck of the woods, in your area, out your window. What is happening for you near where you drive? And then these are all the booklets that have come out from 2022. And we also show a map. is the current projects page. And then once Scioto Township, when they decide on an agreement, the agreements go down here. So, and when the board, their board and our board sign a township agreement, we upload the township agreement on the township pages. So that's it.
That's it.
Very exhaustive.
Simple, right?
That's just simple. So just an FYI.
Jeez Louise.
Oh, let me give you back, Brent. Here you go.
All right, that's, thank you, Tiffany. And, so that concludes our, presentation. If there's any other questions?
Commissioner Green?
So I have one question. You made mention of a roundabout at Sire Church Road and Zeeb Road.
Hmm?
And I think that you mentioned that in the southeast corner, there was a school district. Is that,
That is.
am I correct on that?
It's
Emerson
Emerson
School.
School.
I'll get
Emerson
that
School.
Right there.
So I think that you mentioned that the project would not begin until school was out.
That's correct.
Will it be done by the time school resumes?
It will be.
Okay,
Yeah, so we put a, yeah, that's our plan.
right, right.
So we do have a very tight window that we
Absolutely.
publish for this contractor that within our contract documents to have this completed within the summer months while they're on summer break.
That's ambitious.
Yes.
That's great.
And
yes.
you've been in contact with, I think it's the finance director has participated in the virtual project meetings from Emerson.
For Emerson Schools, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So we've been in touch with Emerson Schools. The contractor is Toby Construction. They were awarded this project through an MDOT bid letting, and they're a great contractor. And we're pretty confident that they're going to get in there and get this done.
Great.
Any other questions?
I do not see any other questions.
Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you for letting us come and in all of our projects. Like I said, it's an exciting time of year, and we have a tight window on construction season within Michigan. And so we got a lot of work that we're trying to complete.
Impressive all the way around. Thanks, Brent,
You're welcome.
Aaron, Tiffany, Michelle, and those who have left the premises. Any other questions, commissioners? Matt, anything before we, okay,
Appreciate the dialogue. It was a great conversation along the way.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn the working session.
So moved.
Support. If you would call the roll, please, Shelby.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Working session is adjourned. We will reconvene at 1 o'clock for our regular board meeting.